Hello, everybody. We're gonna get started here in just a second, but just thought we'd go live and do some of the preamble as we have been doing the last few weeks. Seems to have been nicely received, so we're just gonna chat for a while. Hey to Lions Gangster and Craig Ferguson in the house early. How you doing, guys? Welcome to the support group. Please confess your sins as a Lions fan, because well, we all need to do a bit of soul searching today. How you doing, Ant?
I've had a nice day. I've not focused on anything Lions related today. I've just had a nice day off work. So yeah, I'm good.
So you've done Lord of the Rings, I guess, then.
Yeah, did Lord of the Rings, finished off the rings. Well, finished off the episodes they have. The finales this Friday. But I'm caught up to date with that. And then I've been watching college tape this afternoon, prepping the college show for Wednesday. So it's been nice. It's been nice and quaint and quiet. And I've had nothing to do with the Lions today.
What games have you been watching for college?
Quite a few actually. A lot of the pick watch games, so I know what's gone on there. I've just been watching Tennessee. They look the real deal this year.
Blowing out
It'll be
LSU, yeah.
it'll be interesting. They're at home to Bama this weekend.
They could win that game.
It's a big one. Bama are favored by 7.5, but I don't think that line's fair on Tennessee and what they've done. Hendon Hooker is currently QB3 in this upcoming draft. He's blown everybody out the way he's playing, and their defense is stingy as anything. They just absolutely nullified anything LSU had the other day. So it's going to be a real good matchup, those two are. So I'm going to be intrigued. Tucker plays well in this one, then he's going to go up to QB3 on a lot of analyst boards if he can help them win it, or at least put up a really good fight against them.
So, are there two games tonight? Or is it just one?
It's just
Is it just Vegas, Kansas, right?
Vegas, Kansas tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Big Airy says, oh, good, I need a minute to grab my drink and I need to get it to get through this. And just to highlight the point for me, that's what I'm going for in this episode, because I'm not ready to face this yet. Dan Pask in the chat says, hey guys, cheers for the therapy. I hope we can stay positive on Dan and the boys. I hope Dan can learn from his mistakes. Which game tonight interests you? But there's only one. And to be honest, I've got some interest in this because to beat Chris Perfett in the Pride of Detroit Fantasy League, I need Kelsey to get 11 points, which he should do. But I think he's failed to do it once this season so far, so it's not a given. In terms of staying positive on Dan, I will do my best. I'm not promising anything. There will be questions asked, because I think there needs to be questions asked, but I probably will come out on the positive end of it, mainly because it's not an open and shut case because of one game. You know, we do have a season and a half of this now, but this does feel like the low point of his tenure so far.
I don't know. I think my anger's going more towards the players at the minute. The ones who should be performing are not performing. The vets are letting the team down. Um, and that's been the case for a long time now. Even on offense, the vets are starting to let the team down. So it's really disappointing, some of these guys. And I've been having a long, hard think about some of these players today. I don't want to go into overreaction mode now. I think there's a very fine line between proper criticism and overreaction at this moment in time, but there are certainly some players who are concerning to me at this moment in time who I didn't think would be this year. And it's a concern to the whole team. So it's not necessarily Dan for me. These players are the ones who go out there. These players are the ones who got absolutely embarrassed yesterday. They lost both lines of scrimmage. They got out fought from ball one every play. Patriots wanted it more. Coach can't do out about that. That's on the players.
I really need to go back and watch Hutchinson's tape. Just watch him. Because the 80.1 grade, I can see a path to that being legit, and the path is something like this. They ran it through the middle, or they ran it away from Hutchinson, so he didn't have much opportunity to impact the play. And when he did have an opportunity, he got a pressure or two, and that's pretty much it. In fact, he only got one pressure per PFF, which I'm assuming is the one he missed the sack on. But 80.1 grade, which I think is the highest of his career so far, it's tough to see it because he didn't seem to have much impact on the game. But maybe the point is he didn't have much of a chance, and when he did impact the game a bit, just not as much as we hoped. I don't know.
He's a lame duck. Hutch is a lame duck this year. He's getting doubled all the time. There's nothing he can do because the pressures, because all the attention's on him, so he can't do no. And even on the rare chance when he gets a one-on-one and can do something, he can't do anything. So I don't know. I just feel like he's a lame duck, and we have, I hate writing seasons off, but I'm tired of sort of arguing that I expect my second overall pick to do better. So I'm just going to fall in line with the masses and go, oh, I'll just trot out the he's getting double teamed all the time, line all the time. Fine, you can have it this year, but next year you can't. I'm done with the excuses. That should have been a sack on Zappy.
Yeah, it should have
Um,
been.
when you are a second overall pick in the draft, I expect you to make plays like that. I admit that he has been double teamed, that he's had a lot of attention. That is limiting his opportunities in games. But when you get an opportunity as a second overall pick, you need to take that opportunity. That's what we drafted him for. We drafted him to be Myles Garrett. We didn't draft him, to be some rotational guy who gets a bit of luck every now and then. We asked him to be our game changer. And in the very limited amount of times he's had one-on-ones and opportunities to do so, he's not done it. So, fine, have this year. He can do nothing this year. I don't care. But when he comes back next year, and hopefully when this defensive line's fixed in some way, shape, or form, then I expect a damn lot from him.
Yeah, I mean, I do expect more from him too. But the thing is, if you said to me Hutch is going to get a 12 sack season, you'd think that might be pretty good. And the thing is, he only needs to play the Bears twice and absolutely wreck them and get one more good game somewhere else, and he could come out with a double-digit sack season, and you come away saying, "Well, must be a good year." But I think you're right. I think what it's doing is it's writing the season off for him individually. It seems like teams just
Yeah,
only want
it's
to take account of him. And then you're saying, well, I don't know if he's good or bad. He's not good enough to overcome the things being put in front of him. But most players wouldn't be, even second overall picks. But what does that mean? If someone can avoid him, then there was no point in picking him in the first place. Like, it's pretty horrible, really. But until you get someone on the other side, until the entire D line is fixed, if you can run around him, or you can avoid him, or chip him, or whatever, and if he's going to run past the quarterback anyway, what's the point in him?
well, that's the thing. It's just this rebuild it's hit a big block. We were told that the trenches were going to be where it's all at this year, where it's all at. That's where we're going to build our team outwards, and we're going to build our team from the inside. We're going to build it outwards. Well, we are facing the very real prospect of going into year 3 of this tenure with a defensive line that's no closer to being fixed than when we first had it, and an offensive line which is, I think, in some cases regressing, and we might have issues.
Mm.
I was not impressed with them in the slightest yesterday. I don't care how good they've been running the ball this season. There are going to be some games in a season when you have to rely on your offensive line to pass block because you can't, to pass protect because you can't run the football. And yesterday, with 3 first-round picks on that line, we got absolutely destroyed. And Goff was running for his life most of the game. It's not acceptable in the slightest what happened yesterday on the trenches. And I get teams have bad games, but and maybe it is, but for me, I'm just not at the point where it's not acceptable. I just think that you need to be doing a lot better, and guys like Decker are a bit of poor, very very poor. He's one of the ones I've got concerns about now. He's given up more sacks already this season than he's given up the same amount of sacks this season as he has done in the last 2. He's given up more pressures than he did last year, and he's played nearly 200 snaps less. He's meant to be one of the figureheads on this team who plays well, and he's leaking pressures at an alarming rate. And it's like, well, Christ, if he goes down, then we've got to spend another pick fixing the offensive line. And then we're back to square one again. We're just trying to fix the lines again. We're not building outwards, getting in playmakers, building this team any further. It just feels like we're in a repetitive cycle of going through linemen, trying to keep fixing that and ignoring everywhere else. And that's what's pissing me off at the minute about yesterday. Just, I expect my offensive line to be a lot better than that, and they weren't.
100%. Just waiting for Steve to filter in. How you doing, Ryan?
Yeah.
You've got a few people saying they're waiting for a Ryan rant today. It's becoming a thing.
They're not going to get one, because I've got very little to say. I know I have loads to say, but that performance just doesn't really deserve a rant. They don't deserve for me to tear them to shreds.
The audience don't deserve nice things like a Ryan rant. Chromon.
No.
Chromon.
I can't get good things because both sport teams I support are terrible. So, unfortunately, the audience are going to be let down.
Chromon has put in a first-time chat on the Twitch channel. Says, cheers from the POD community. Keep up the good work, you guys. Cheers, man. Appreciate you. Darth Twerk says, I can smell Will Anderson. Can you guys? I think it's premature.
Yes.
I don't think we'll be that high.
I can smell him at this point. But, hey-ho. We don't know what's going to happen yet.
Mr. Anderson. I would enjoy it just for that. What?
What the hell was that?
That's Mr. Smith in The Matrix.
Oh yeah. I haven't watched The Matrix in a long time, so.
Neo.
No, I'm
Hello,
not quite
Mr.
ready to focus on the draft yet.
No,
I'm not doing it yet.
Steve, are you ready to focus on the draft yet, mate?
I just want to like follow a team just through a season and remain interested.
It would be nice. Just before we get started, by the way, I know that Ryan Farden said, "Don't worry, guys, I've got the Airbnb sources." But before Sarah had seen that message, because she just sees everything, she'd already gone on to have a look at Airbnbs at the time of the draft for Detroit 24. And if anyone in the chat knows this particularly well, it would be great. But she's found a place that's an 8-bed in Windsor, Canada, so just over the border. How is the border crossing between Windsor and Detroit? Because it's an 8-bed place for a week, Tuesday to Monday for the draft, and it's going to be £300 each. It's an 8-bed property, and it looks sick. It looks really good. I'm kind of keen for it, guys.
As long as it's not a pain in the arse to go across, then that's fine.
That's the problem. I mean, some of the places I've seen on Airbnb, if you want to be in Metro Detroit, are between £500 to £1,000 each. Otherwise, you might be looking at 2 places, which might be about the same sort of amount, or you're looking at going much further afield, unless Ryan's place is in that sort of region. Geordie Mansions just said, Windsor, Detroit is the busiest border crossing in the world, which I just don't... that must be hyperbole. It can't be true.
Well, if there's anything us Brits love more, it's a queue. So, queues are our speciality here in the UK. We love queues. Lions
Gangster says you just take the tunnel, which is the sort of simplicity of a reaction I like.
I thought he said just tunnel through. We'd be very well accepted if we tunneled through.
Right. Boys, are you ready to go? Get this over and done with.
We could just finish it now and, that'd be that.
Well, thank you all for joining. It's been a lovely show. Right, okay, let's do this.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the War of the Lions UK podcast, episode 148, Shut Out the Light. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside co-host Ryan and Steve. How you doing, boys?
I've had a very nice day, personally. Been sat down watching Lord of the Rings, watching some college football, just forgetting about the Lions totally, and I feel a lot better for it, because yesterday just was depressing. But I'm happier today now.
I've just really been crying all day. like sometimes sobbing, sometimes like wailing, but just sometimes just sort of sniffling, but just crying.
I've been looking at some draft stuff, but the season to me is over, so I don't care. Like I say, I can't wait for 2023 draft. Like I say, season's written off for me. My expectations, they've made me look stupid in my predictions, so it's fine.
Bing, 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 bing. That is the Lions bingo for Detroit Lions podcast mentioning the draft, and it's only taken 5 weeks. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Cross it off your bingo cards. The draft has been mentioned. We just need a former head coach to be mentioned now when we're at a full house.
Can we also mention Jim Caldwell nostalgia, which also
There we go.
I saw in a couple of places on social media yesterday, so that was nice. That's another one off the bingo card. Jim Caldwell nostalgia.
We don't need a bingo card. We just need to make it a drinking game.
And we had crippling injuries this weekend as well, so that's off the bingo card as well. There we go. We've had the trifecta already, and we're 2 minutes into the show.
And just generally poor play calling? I mean, does that work for the Lions, or is that too generic? That's probably too generic, right?
Yeah, we need something more centric to us. You know, the only thing we didn't have this week was finding a bad way to lose a game because we never were in a position to win it.
The refs didn't steal the game from us. That is a positive. You are right. We didn't get a bad decision. It was pretty consistent all the way through.
Oh no, I think the second Akuda PI was trash, but outside of that, it doesn't really matter.
Just want to thank everyone in the live chats for joining along with us. We're doing this because we committed to do this beforehand, but you guys are voluntarily listening to this show, so props to you guys. Sorry, Steve.
I was just to everyone else who's watching, just like, I mean, I'm struggling to see
you weirdos.
Why? Yeah.
You do know we're meant to be encouraging people to listen to us and grow the numbers.
Let's roast the chat. Roast the chat. Let's go.
No one's going to want to listen to the next hour. No one with a sound mind, because we're going to break them.
I don't know. What if me and Steve agree to do a duet? I think that might get people in.
Yeah, no one needs that. Let's move on. Let's do some housekeeping before getting on to what I'm loosely terming the main event, talking about Lions at the Patriots. But let's talk about our Discord channel. We have had a few more entries over the weekend and some really active people, which has been great. It's a good community of people. Please do come and join us on there. I'll stick the link in the chats in just a moment. College Football Podcast is coming up on Wednesday. Ant was saying pre-show that he was prepping up for it. And what happened over this weekend, Ant?
A lot of good football that is happy to watch. So yeah, we're going to be having a look at week 6 of the season. We're going to look ahead to week 7, and I think we're taking a look at kickers and safeties on the show this week as well. And we're only 1 week away from the half-season mock draft because the college season is going really, really quickly at the minute. So me and Ryan will be prepping our mock drafts for that. So yeah, come. There's a lot to enjoy in college land at the minute. It's good fun.
And the team I'm backing for glory this year, UCLA, remain undefeated. So good stuff. Someone from the Pac-12 division, Ryan, might be relevant.
Hey, one team won this weekend.
Oh, so yeah, do go and listen. No.
Shit, and we proved it.
Please don't forget to like the episode, sub to the channel, rate us, all that good stuff that you guys can do. We'd really appreciate that. Grandizer in the chat says if we get a Ryan rant, we'll like and sub. So Ryan, you got to do your bit later on in the show, my man. Lions Nation Unite, please do go and download that app. Herman Moore's project to bring the best in YouTube content creators for the Lions together. Find it at lionsnationunite.com. And we are a Twitch affiliate. If you do subscribe to Amazon Prime and you don't currently use your Prime subscription, you can throw it our way for free. Doesn't cost you a penny, but puts a little in our pocket. Much, much appreciated. Just quickly, Darth Twerk says, do the folk of Roar the Lions UK have favourite college teams? Ryan, you are a fan of?
I'm not a fan of them, but I chose Arizona State. I'm regretting it, and I'm very close to just not having a team at all. So I could be a free agent very soon, but I don't think I'm going to pick another because it's not cracked up to what it is to be, is it? Like, so being a fan of one sports team, it just hurts you.
Yeah, when they hire Matt Rule, that'll be the nail in the coffin.
I'm just kind of generally fans of Michigan teams. I haven't really kind of boiled down my fandom into one team just yet. I'm kind of just watching everything as much as I can. Ash, one of our writers, he is a Florida State fan. And you kind of follow the entire league, right?
Oh, I follow North Carolina State at the minute, so they kicked SSU's ass this. Well, they didn't kick their ass, but they beat them this weekend, so I'm happy with that. But Devin Leary's injured, so that's a shame. He could be out a while.
And Steve, you don't really have a team, do you?
I guess Michigan, I would say. But yeah, like I don't watch a lot of it, although I think I'm maybe increasingly turning to college football this season.
I mean, if
Well,
you're watching
I
Michigan,
know-
Blake Corum's fun.
Well, I know a great podcast you can listen to about college football, Steve. So
Oh dear. Right. Let's get on with the news before we get into the game. The Lions signed wide receiver Maurice Alexander and cornerback AJ Parker to the active roster to make way. Quintez Cephas went to IR, that's locking him out for at least the next 4 games, and the kicker Austin Seibert was waived in a surprise move just before the game. Dan, only 2 days before, was talking about the fact that they were quietly confident that he was going to play in this game, and then the day before he's gone, which is a real shock. The safety, Savion Smith, I should say DB because he's a cornerback, really, I thought. But anyway, Savion Smith, he played 2 snaps before in that second snap, going to hospital with a neck injury. Looks really rough. I feel slightly smug for kind of calling it live in terms of how exactly it went down. So Hunter Henry kind of gets his fingertips just in his helmet, twists his head as he's trying to move in the other direction. Caused a neck injury. Wasn't actually clear what it was on the field, so it made it a bit more guesswork. But went off in an ambulance on the field. Looked really rough. His dad and uncle going with him. But since then, about an hour ago, it was confirmed that there is no neck damage and he's only in the concussion protocol, which is terrific news that there is perhaps no more lasting spinal neck damage. I mean, concussions, as we all know, can be pretty devastating, but you come away from this thinking that potentially it could have been a heck of a lot worse. Final bit of news. Injuries during the game were a real problem, especially in the DB room. So Will Harris got the start. If you didn't watch yesterday, you might be surprised to hear that Will Harris got the start. But he got the start and promptly got a groin injury and did not return. Okuda had an undisclosed injury but returned after a couple of series. Deshaun Elliott, who did not start the game, did come on for Savion Smith, did get cramps and had to be carted to the locker room but returned. And Ifeatu Melifonwu, he had an ankle injury and he had to go to the locker room. It was really rough, guys. Just aside from the game, we are playing, you know, we're scraping the barrel with our DBs right now, and it really, you know, if we get some bad news on how long-term some of these might be, it points to the future being even darker than it already was, and it wasn't exactly great to begin with in that position.
No, we were scraping the barrel at the position before the season even started. The position room in general was crap before the first game, and now it's just got worse. And just some weird decisions, like I say, to not start Deshaun Elliott. Like, it don't make sense because he's played well throughout the season. He's been pretty consistent. And like, we knew they wanted to run the ball, and he's one of the best tacklers and he's strong in the box. Now, the whole Instagram thing, that can't be the issue he didn't start, because if that were true, or if you had him for it, he wouldn't even be active. I'd have fucking got rid of him. I wouldn't even have him on the team if it was any truth behind him saying, fuck Detroit, I want to get out of here. So why didn't he start? Like I said, what exactly were they hoping to achieve by playing a defensive back with no experience, totally out of position? So that was a bizarre decision itself. Okuda, well, I'm pretty sure the injury should have been like burnt toast, so it smelled like it because he got smoked on the day. He had a stinker, but it's one of them things, isn't it? So he's due a few bad games. Amane, like, at least he came up. Just tell us the truth. Like, say he got benched because he's been shit this season. Like I say, I don't care. Like, oh, you don't play special teams. Like I say, that's why I chose Will Harris. Will Harris don't play fucking anything well. So that's not exactly much of a justification. You might as well just be honest and say, I wanted to try something a bit different, and it didn't work. If he came on, made one tackle and instantly left the game, he did blow a guy up, but if he's made of paper mache as well, that'll just be another one. So yeah, this DB room right now is held together by like sawdust and PVA glue. It was terrible at the start of the season, and right now it's looking bad. The fact that Jerry Jacobs coming back is great, and even I don't think he's good enough to should be starting. But that is where we are right now. When Jerry comes back, you'll probably win a starting job. That's just because how lackluster this room is. So yeah, it's gonna be another defensive draft, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to start putting some significant resources into this secondary now because it's beaten, it's battered, it's bruised, and again, like a lot of other areas of this team, senior players are failing. They are not performing, they are not leading by example, and they're not doing well. And it's just seeping through to this entire team. So, it's injuries can't be helped. In games like this, you absolutely cannot help them here. But it's just becoming apparent now that the rooms are a mess. You have a lot of youngsters in there, but you have very little established talent. You are going to go into next year at the minute with very little established talent because Tracy Walker ain't going to be fit by the start of next season. So you've got to start your safety room again. Who knows what's going to go on with Amani? It looks like he's on his way out. He's been benched. He's not performing well at the minute. It just does not look good with him. Jeff, you're going to have, but outside of that, at the minute, it's very uncertain. So it's tough, but they need to start addressing it now. This just going on, just going linemen all the time. They can't keep doing it and abandoning other areas of this team. We've got to get some bona fide starter potential on there right away. We've got to do something to fix these units because they're just going to carry on letting us down. And how thin they are, it's really, really difficult. You see now Panthers have fired the head coach today. You want to be on the phone. You want to be trying to find talent. You want to be in that trade market trying to find somebody to come in and help us because we need it. We can't carry on with this amount of injuries in the unit this year.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the game then. So, Detroit 0, New England 29, and a game where statistically you would be fooled potentially for thinking that this was a game that would be pretty close. So the Lions outgained New England through the air, 229 to 188. New England on the ground, 176 to 101. Bailey Zappi actually ended up with a QBR of 24.5. He didn't look good. Zappi didn't look great. He didn't look bad. He just didn't look good. Unfortunately, Jared Goff had a QBR of 6.5. So, fun. Lions actually did have some production through the air, as I mentioned, led by Josh Reynolds, 6 for 92, and Craig Reynolds, 3 for 68. Khalif Raymond caught 5 balls, which must be some sort of career high, 5 for 45. Jacoby Myers and Hunter Henry got it done through the air for New England, the only guys to get over 15 yards receiving on their team. Myers 7 for 111 and Hunter Henry 4 for 54. The only significant stat in the entire game, Ramondre Stevenson, 25 carries, 161 yards. He absolutely tore us a new one. Mainly though, apart from one big run early, a lot of it was down the stretch when they were trying to kill the game and we just couldn't stop him. Looking at the game, elevated Savion Smith and Michael Badgley, the kicker. Inactives were wide receiver DJ Chark, running back DeAndre Swift, tight end, tackle Matt Nelson, defensive lineman Kaminsky and Harris, cornerback Armani Oruwariye, and safety Juju Hughes. Ryan's already touched on Oruwariye, which is the biggest decision of the entire thing. Apart, Juju Hughes was also a surprise because he was the starter in the few games before then. So both of them go from starter to not even on the bench, but just completely gone from the active team. Let's just focus on Armani and with the rest of you guys. What did he make of Armani not even being a backup for this game? Because it's one thing to punish him by saying you're not starting, but to say to him, you ain't good enough to be our outside cornerback 3, it's a heck of a statement.
I think it's the correct one. 100%. He's been performing awfully, and you have to make a statement with him. I think benching him and then bringing him in after 5 or 10 snaps and saying, "There, you've learned your lesson," is not good enough. I mean, we didn't know we were going to get 5 defensive back injuries in this game, and we may end up needing it. We didn't know that. So it's easy to say with hindsight, with all the injuries, why is he not in the team, etc., etc. But it was 100% the right decision to make. These vets need to know that their performances are not good enough and that they will be punished for it with no playing time. Amani is in a contract year, so sitting on the bench is no good for him because no one's going to pay him if he's sat on the bench doing nothing. We ain't going to pay him if he's doing that, and he won't get anything anywhere else. So I was 100% on board with it. And next game we play, it needs to be Brockers. He needs to get the same treatment because once again, he ranks bottom 3 in defense. He has been even more useless than Amani has. So I want to see this treatment dished out to more of the players. I don't care whether it means we have to bring rookies, undrafted free agents in, etc. They can't be just starting all the time for lack of a better option. There've got to be real world consequences to not playing well for this team. So I'm 100% on board with the decision to just shelve him entirely. Hopefully, he's learned something from this and he will come back and he will try a lot harder.
Steve?
Wow, Amani's in a contract year. I would love to be a fly on the wall for those negotiations.
Yeah, I think it's an overreaction, personally. He didn't deserve to start, but is this about virtue signaling the fact that you're unhappy with someone, or is it about winning football games? You cannot tell me, as much as I love Bobby Price, everyone knows I love Bobby Price, you cannot tell me that Bobby Price provides as much on the field, even including special teams ability, than Amari Oruwariye does. I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me that that's the case. Amani must be your cornerback 3 in terms of pure ability. I do not get punishing him to that extent. It's not necessary. If he's cornerback 3 and he can come on in the game and affect the game but only having 10 or 15 snaps, maybe 20 if one of your cornerbacks goes down or gets a bit, out of puff, that's fine. But Bobby got absolutely torched in this game, won for a touchdown. Amani wouldn't have made that mistake. Now, Amani has not been good this year, but you would not have seen him make the mistake that led to that specific touchdown. That was the one that was thrown on the near sideline corner of the end zone for their final touchdown in the second half. Bobby just busts it. It's really bad. So, I feel like Dan has sacrificed footballing ability on the field to make a statement. And I don't agree with it, fundamentally.
I've got a theory on this.
Go.
So I think, and you're going to say, oh, this is a bit of a conspiracy or you're reading too much into it. I think that Dan and the coaching staff have fallen in love with themselves on Hard Knocks. And I think that they have completely bought in to the whole Hard Knocks reality TV. We have to have a narrative. We have to, have some drama every week, because it doesn't feel to me like they're running this franchise like a football team, but they're running it like a reality show, which is why every week we have these overreaction decisions, whether it's personnel decisions, like benching people, or it's fourth down, let's go for it 6 times on fourth down. It just feels to me like they're trying to make it all about them, because a lot of the best coaches in the NFL and the best coaching staff, you're kind of not aware of them during the game, they've got their scheme set, they make things happen on the field, but you're just focusing on the players and what they're doing. But we seem to be focusing all the time on coaching and coaching decisions, whether it's, like I said, personnel or trying to intervene in the game, trying to game manage too heavily. And I just think they've all fallen in love with themselves on Hard Knocks, and that's part of the problem.
So there was a time under Matt Patricia when we were begging, pleading for him to drop his best players because of how bad they were. Jamie Collins, Trey Flowers, Nick Williams, all these guys who saw the field all the time, despite how awful they played, and he kept picking them again and again and again and again and again, and we hated him for it. So why now, when Dan Campbell makes the ballsy decisions to drop his players, do we seem to have an issue with it? Playing for the Detroit Lions should be an honor, a privilege that you earn by playing well on the field and training well to do it. Training well. Amani Oruwariye has not earned that privilege this season. He has been awful. You say he doesn't make mistakes. He made 6 mistakes 2 weeks ago when he just kept doing flags for fun. He was rubbish last week before this.
You're putting words in my mouth a bit there, though. I said he wouldn't make that specific mistake for a touchdown. I'm not saying that he wouldn't commit a DPI, but I'm just saying that specific mistake he wouldn't have made.
No, maybe not, but it does not mean he's infallible to the mistakes. You should earn your right to play on this team. By keeping him as cornerback 3, no matter how bad he plays, just because you think he might not make the mistake the rookie does, that's telling him that he can play however the hell he wants and still see time on this pitch. And that is the wrong message for the Detroit Lions to send out. Him sitting on that bench, seeing Bobby Price getting skinned and he can't even get in the team should be humiliating for him. It should mean like, hang on, actually, I've got to pull my socks up and start playing well here, because if I don't, I ain't going to get back in this team again. This should be applauded. I am sick and tired of vets getting on this team, doing jack squat and getting reps every week. I am sick of it, and I'm glad that Dan is taking a hard line. I saw Brockers this week, only 11 snaps. His snap count is going down. He's going to be out of this team soon, and it's going to be the right decision. It was we criticise Matt Patricia for never doing it, so we cannot criticise Dan Campbell for taking a hard line with his vets, even if it's potentially to the detriment of this defense, which it's not. These vets have hardly done a job this year on defense to make it worthwhile. It's not like he's sacrificing the potential of winning this game, because they've been awful and they've added very little to this team. And by letting them go, you're not losing a lot. You really are not. So it's just 100% be back to this decision. And like I say, I hope more are coming forthwith.
Right, let's move it on and just talk briefly about the game. I'm just going to do a highlight kind of cliff note part of this because I don't want to indulge in it too much, but very start of the game, Lions go for it on the 4.5 yard from their own 40-yard line. They don't make it, and then the Detroit D holds the New England offense to a field goal for 3-0. Let's just take that first decision because it is a key one in this game. Flips momentum, like we were in the ascendancy and we weren't, but it did shift momentum from 50-50 to completely in their favour. It does seem like the risk versus reward there is potentially not there. Yeah, it's only a half yard, and yeah, you're near midfield, but failing to get that half yard and what it can do to your confidence for the rest of the game, it seemed to completely just deflate the team. And great that the defense stood up. It's a situation where we might have given up touchdowns earlier on this year, so well done to them. But for me, it's totally the wrong decision. You got the best punter in the league, use him, pin him back. Is Bailey Zappi really going to drive them 95 yards down the field? Maybe, but force him to do it. What do you guys make of it? Ryan, in fact, Ryan, why don't you take it? Because you haven't spoken for a bit.
Yeah. It was just a disaster, like I said. The Savion Smith injury, that shell-shocked them. So the first 2 drives after that, they didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. Like I say, they were inside their own heads. And going for it on that 4th down, with the very predictable, let's go in I formation, like, the running back was like 5 yards away from the line of scrimmage, so you had to get a run up and then blown up for the middle. Like, that was so predictable. We'd see it again later in the game. Like I say, what is wrong with just getting Jared Goff in a QB sneak? I know he's fucking useless, not very athletic, but at least try just sneak it in. I don't think we've gone for a QB sneak nearly all year, and we're supposed to play this 4th down masters. We make life as hard as possible. And a QB that is going to rely on a 2-headed juggernaut run game to give him the ball at like the 47-yard line, like our own halfway line, was asking for trouble. Like I said, this defense was understaffed to begin with, and then instant on the back foot. Yeah. So if we make it, we get the momentum, but we gave all that momentum away. So 4th down was an absolute shit show. Just the entire game, it was just dreadful. And the fact that they held them to a field goal felt like a win because that drive did not go well. Neither did the next one. But the first two told them a field goal. I thought to myself, maybe they're going to be able to overcome losing someone and that shock to the system because they all looked upset. And I thought they've shaken it off. They managed to come together and going to play for him. But yeah, that ended very quickly, that feeling.
So it's very easy to just blame the coaching staff on this one and say, well, they shouldn't be going for 4th down in this situation, but that's excusing the players. You need half a yard. I'm sorry, but you need half a yard. You've got 3 first-round picks on that offensive line. You've got the best scoring offense in the league. You've got a play caller at OC who manages to mix it up, keep defenses guessing, plays really well. I'm sorry, but if you can't get half yard in that situation, that's on the players just as much as it is on coaching. I mean, it's not difficult. It really isn't difficult to convert in those situations if you fight hard enough. And, just from play one in this game, the Patriots wanted it more. On both sides of the ball, they simply wanted it more. They battered both sides of our lines. And we just had no answer to it. We've been told this is a team with grit, with determination, that's going to play harder, be stronger, going to keep coming at you. And yet we can't convert half a yard because we're overwhelmed. Where's the fight there? Where's the desire to convert that, keep your drive going? It's Dan Campbell showing that he believes in his offense to convert for half a yard. I mean, God forbid that a head coach can put that much faith in his offense and it be his fault when it goes wrong. It's just the players take responsibility for that one. They just completely let the pocket collapse. The play died, and I expect better from them because that is the elite aspect of our team right there with our best players in there, and we could not convert, and it puts pressure on the defense. I think it's more the players' fault, that one. You cannot not convert that. It is disgusting that they allowed it, really.
I mean,
this might be controversial, but I'm going to say our offensive line is one of the most overrated units in the entire NFL. People blow smoke up its ass, myself included, for years now. This line has done fucking nothing together. Even when it's been together, in pass pro, it's been dog shit. It's been poor for weeks. It's a great run unit and it creates massive holes for running, but creating a pocket for Jared Goff, it's been piss poor for 2 years, the majority of it. And the best ability is availability, and they just aren't showing it. This is not a top 5 O-line unit. We've invested in heavily, and I'm no longer going to try to convince myself that it is. And I won't let anyone else either. The rose-tinted glasses are coming off.
I think one of the things for me is people have spent a lot of time talking about going for it on 4th down and 6 failed 4th down attempts. For me, we need to talk more about why are we in 4th down situations all the time? Like why? Like the play calling was really, really predictable. Again, like really predictable. Every time we win a 3rd and long 4th down situation, Belichick and Patricia and the Patriots just absolutely outcoached us. And that's like a massive worry because, we in terms of like getting behind this franchise, we've got to be behind like the coaching staff. And if they, it's not like they don't have weapons. Like, it's not like Jamal Williams can't make a yard. So what the fuck was going on with the play calling? Just embarrassing. And then, just going back onto the decision to keep going for, 4th and long 6 times, I think NFL record, failed 4th downs, something else for us to laugh about. Campbell's drafted as drafted in Michael Badgley. Michael Badgley has made 3 field goals from over 50 yards in the last 5 seasons. 3 field goals made from 50 yards, 10 missed. He's not kicked a 50-yard field goal since 2020 when he was playing for the Chargers. Even at 40 yards, he's 28 and 37 at 40 to 49 yards. Like in 2020, when he got cut from the Chargers, at 40 yards plus, he was 8 and 13. Why the fuck have we got this guy in the team? Why have we cut Seibert and drafted in this guy if we've got absolutely no trust and he's not going to be on the field? We may as well just use the roster spot for another safety or DB. Like, I just do not understand. Jack Fox taking kickoffs. What is Badgley in a uniform for? I have no idea. And so for Campbell to say, oh, you know, like, we just had to like wait till we got like the right field goal. Well, you know, it's just a bad decision. Are you telling me that there's no kickers out there that can't kick a 45-yard field goal?
I mean, I'm going to tell you that, yeah, there aren't any out there in free agency. I had a look at the free agency kickers before all this went down. It is barren out there. Some people are trying to sell people on there being decent kickers available if only we picked the right ones. And it's like, sorry, but I know that some people out on Brad Holmes, some people are saying, you know, I'm 50-50 on him, some people love him. But whether you love him or hate him, do you think he's a terrifically bad talent evaluator? Do you think he's like shockingly bad? Because I'm pretty sure he's not choosing a shit kicker on purpose. Like, sorry, do you think he's just deliberately going out there thinking, oh, I'm just going to pick this guy because it's someone? Like, he's gone out there and he's picked what happens to be the most available guy for the job at the time. Maybe Seibert was carrying a very small knock still coming into the game. They didn't think they could rely on that game, and they thought, actually, you know what, let's just take the opportunity to go somewhere else, because he wasn't even that great when he was on the field anyway. And it's a sucky situation in Detroit where we've been so blessed with kickers in the past. But, and I keep saying this to people about any position in free agency, if there's an easy upgrade, someone's already done it. Like, why do you think that it's easy to upgrade people at this time in free agency? It's just not, because if it was, they'd have 100 waiver claims. It's not that simple.
Why put him in a uniform if you don't trust him to make a kick? How can he prove himself if he doesn't kick the ball?
Yeah, fair. But I mean, it would have been a 49-yard kick, which you just said they had a 70% success rate on. Like, it wouldn't have been an absolutely awful kick to try and attempt. Now, it's a longer range between 40 and 50, I agree. Maybe it's about 50-50. But attempting that kick would have been better than doing nothing, and that's what he's there for. But if what you were trying to highlight was he should have done the kick because that's what he's there for, then I think maybe that point is well made. I just don't... I'm with you. I don't get why you wouldn't kick that in terms of why is he suited up at all. Don't have a kicker at all. I get it.
But why put him on the team if you're then not got the confidence in your own player evaluation? If you've evaluated him, gone, this is our guy, this is the best available guy, why then do you not give him chance? Like, I just don't understand that. It just doesn't seem to me logical decision making. It just seems to me like absolute, like scrambled brain fog in terms of like how they are putting these things together. Like, who is making the decisions here? I don't think they know what they're going to do. I think they're just winging it.
I mean, we saw the prep that they do during Hard Knocks. I don't believe they're winging it, but I think the alternative is worse. They might be bad. They might just be bad at this. Like, I'm not willing to go there. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that they're potentially just slightly out of their depth and they're still learning, and it's just a fat learning curve. But the alternative to them being underprepared is they're not good. I don't know, man.
I mean, when you're shut out of a game, you are thoroughly outplayed in every single facet of that game. That is a bad team. That's not been underprepared. You know, that is just, you're bad. You know, how do you see the rule just gives up too much plays? It gets cooked by a 6th-round rookie. It gets two pressures the entire game. 2 pressures. That is it. 2 times. And one of them, there should have been a sack. It's just completely, Zappe just juked our number 2 pick in the draft. Like he just wasn't there. Like he was some, scrub off the street. that is just the team is bad. This is not the best offensive line in the world you're playing against here. It's not bad. It's pretty decent. But to get 2 pressures in the entire game against it shows you are bad. You really are. Where were our depth edge rushers again? Where's Julian? Where's Austin? Where the hell are any of these guys? I tell you what, they're nowhere. They're getting stuffed by one-on-ones. They are making no impact on games whatsoever. I think this depth we thought we had is not there. At the edge position, it sure as hell is not there. We thought that Charles and Hutch, followed by Aquara and Bryant, and that would be a decent rotation. Well, it's not a decent rotation. It's not even half decent at this moment in time. I think the secondary is that ruined by injuries that it just can't really do anything at the minute. At linebacker, you're just riddled with inconsistent play. I think it's just the team been bad. And I think we're just going to have to sort of come to the realization that it is not what we thought it was going to be. And the offense just cannot bail it out all year. You've seen that there are problems with this offense now. I'm with Ryan. I'm not as sold on this offensive line anymore just because of how bad its pass pro is and how it got thoroughly outplayed by one man. And I think you've got a lot of problems to fix going forward. And, the line at the start of the season, we all thought it would be the quarterback that'd be the issue. Jared Goff ain't 10th on the list of needs this team needs at the minute. The defense has taken way bigger priority over any decision that needs to be making a quarterback at the minute because the team is bad.
Right, what I'm going to do is this chat and conversation is really good. So instead of breaking it up by me going through the game, I'm just going to go through the game in terms of cliff notes, and then we can just carry on having this conversation. So let me crack on with this, and then maybe there'll be some talking points from this, and we can talk generally about the team as well, because to be honest, that's going to be much more fun than talking about this game. So 3-0 where I left it. 1st and 10 from New England 19. Good offensive drive, but Goff double clutches and then throws an awful interception into double coverage, picked off by Jack Jones, his second interception in straight games for the New England Patriots. The 4th-round rookie really balling out for them. Pats then pull off a huge Stevenson run for 50 from his own 20, gets down to the 31. A great touchdown-saving tackle by Alex Anzalone. When it looked like that Stevenson could rumble on for a touchdown, he really made up some yards fast. Actually made Stevenson look pretty slow with the way that he caught back up to him, which was good. Lions D then, having put themselves in a hole, Titans to hold New England to another field goal. So that makes it 6-0, despite putting themselves in holes twice of their own making. After that, a massive return from Maurice Alexander from the kickoff, returned it from the 1 to the 47 of Detroit, but the drive stalls after a big sack. They punt away, but then Lions intercept having punted. So Fox pins them deep. They make about 20 yards, but then from their own 30, Zappi throws on target. The wide receiver bobbles it. It was a good throw by Zappi, but the wide receiver bobbles it straight into Sean Elliott's hands. He made a really good catch for that interception. The ball looked like it was well on its way to the ground. Not only does he make the leap and extends, he manages to get his hands underneath the ball to secure the catch. That was really good. Following the interception, not a lot happens. They make about 18 yards or so, get down to 4th and 9 at the New England 32. So it's a 49-yard attempt at this point. 3 minutes 40 left in the first half at 6-0. So evaluating the options, you've got a punt, you can try and pin him deep. If it goes for a touchback, it's only a net gain of 12 yards. It's a 49-yard attempt. We've heard from Steve that maybe 49 is a bit long for this kicker, but we don't know. Or you can go for it on 4th and 9. Dan, in the press conference, said he was very happy with the decision, that they had a really great play call and just didn't execute the play. I have to agree to disagree on that one. Sack, fumble, touchdown by Kyle Duggar on the play. Yeah, it just didn't make sense. So Goff trying to escape pressure, and we saw Goff falling into his own kind of bad habits as he's done in the past, trying to run out the pocket to evade pressure and extend the play, which he just can't. He's not fast enough to run away from pressure, so don't do it. 13-0, and then another late field goal drive in the last 3 minutes gives New England a 16-0 lead at the half. The first drive touchdown First drive, field goal, then makes it 19-0. The Lions can get nothing going, missing lots of other fourth downs, as we've talked about earlier. A lovely touchdown pass to Jacoby Myers on the near sideline, wide open in the corner after Bobby Price busts the coverage, makes it 26-0, and a final field goal late makes it 29-zip. And a few themes or talking points I'm going to just say, but maybe we'll talk about some of the plays in there. Head coaching decisions, right or wrong? Were there any scheme issues? Did we see some slight defensive improvement from this team? Were there any positives at all whatsoever? Can you think of any positives in terms of the team or individual performances? And is anyone's seat getting warm? So they're my talking points in the chats. If you have any thoughts on any of those things, please do get them in. Maybe I'll reference them as we go through in this conversation. Maybe we can go back to the 4th and 9. In fact, Steve's got his hand up before, maybe I'll go there. So, Steve.
Just in terms of talking points, okay? Can we talk about one of the most basic things in football, which is tackling? Okay? Ramondre Stevenson is not even the Patriots' #1 running back. He ran for 161 yards. Can anyone tell me what percentage of those 161 yards were yards after contact?
Probably a lot.
80.
Yeah, I'd go 70, 80.
Yeah, 69%. So 111 yards out of 161 yards after contact. And I'm just going back in my mind to watching people carve us up last year, going through flimsy Desmond Trufant, Will Harris arm tackles. To me, the defense has got absolutely no better. Like, that statistic alone is an embarrassment. And for me, that's absolutely on Aaron Glenn, that he's just made no progress with one of the most basic things in the sport, in the NFL, tackling the opposition players. Because Ramondre Stevenson is not like the second coming of Marshawn Lynch. He's not like Alvin Kamara elusive. He's a plodding, bang average running back. And we made him look like Marshawn Lynch today. I don't know what you guys thought of that.
So let me just bring up something which is very pertinent to this conversation. Almost the entire team had a positive tackle grade, apart from 3 who had a disastrous grade. Do you want to guess? Well, sorry, 4, 5 of them had bad grades. Sorry. Most of the team were good. There are 21, 22 qualifying players in the team. On defense, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players sub 50. Do you want to guess where 3 of those 5 came positionally?
Defensive line.
Derek Barnes.
Isaiah Buggs had an absolute stinker, I can guarantee it.
So 3 of the 5 were interior defensive line.
Buggs.
McNeil, Buggs,
that Stevenson
Brockers.
50-yard run. Buggs
So-
missed the width of that tackle.
Brockers didn't have a tackle he could have made, so he doesn't have a tackle grade. Demetrius Taylor, Aleem McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, Malcolm Rodriguez, Kirby Joseph. So 3 interior defensive linemen, a linebacker and a safety, in a line down the middle. That's where the success came from. But pretty much everyone else did good, and some of the best grades we've seen this season have come out of this game for tackling, including AJ Parker, who had a really good game tackling-wise, Alex Anzalone, Mike Hughes, Austin Bryant, all came out this game with good tackle grades. So it's a real mixed bag, but the common theme was the problem when it came to Ramondre Stevenson. It came all the way down the middle.
I'm sorry, but those tackling stats mean nothing. And I know people say they're tackling better, but they can't rush the passer. They're struggling to defend against the run. They get carved up by a 6th-round rookie playing in his first ever start in this league. I'm sorry, but good tackling doesn't quite cut it when you can't even do basic shit like that. It is, this defense, people going, oh, we played better, it held 29 points. Yeah, well, you got 2 pressures all game against the Patriots. And that defense, that offensive line is not great. 2 pressures. You let a rookie, you let a second-year running back who is okay, but he's never going to have stats like that again in his life, ever. And I can guarantee you that. You let him run all over you. You let a sixth-round rookie in his first stop throw all over you. You let him escape the pocket, evade tackles. All that is wrong. Forgive me for not getting excited about a few nice tackle grades when the plays have already happened, when the chunk plays already been made. The technicality of tackling is very little compared to the actual problems in this team at the minute. This defense is garbage. What Todd Wash is doing with them in practice, I do not know. But if there are going to be changes, his ass needs to be the first one out the door because he has got more than enough talent to be working with on that D line. And they are getting beaten and battered and bruised every week, it feels like, at this moment in time. They are not making positive contributions in a game. They are not getting sacks. They're not hassling the quarterback, forcing them into errors. And even when they do get through on the rare occasion, they don't make the plays. They don't finish them. They don't execute right. What is he doing with them? And then just the rest of it is just garbage. Their receivers are they getting schemed into open space? I don't care. I expect some adjustments to be made. I expect Aaron Glenn to fix this. But their receivers are in so much space. I would love, if I had the time, I would go back through the game and see how much individual space these guys are in when they're thrown to, because I reckon it's goddamn high. Every time one of our receivers had a ball thrown at him, he seemed to have a man draped all over him in perfect coverage. You couldn't do anything with it. So no, there's absolutely no redefining features about the defense in this game at all, because the problems that they had are big. They are huge. And if we want to go forward as a team, we need some major overhauls, some major changes. Otherwise, it's going to be the same old problems again and again and again and again and again. What the hell are we going to do when we start facing first string quarterbacks again, not just backups? There are no redeeming qualities about this defense whatsoever from these last two games. It's been absolutely king awful.
So I want to move on to a couple of positives just because I want to break up all the negativity. And I am going to talk about the defense. I am. I disagree with you, and as a collective, I agree with you. The defense has had few redeeming features. But you've heard me say this before. I do not agree with blanket criticism of every single player on that defense, and apologies if you don't mean that. But I don't agree with blanket negativity on the defense if there are individual good performances that I can laud, because I don't believe this is very much an anti kind of Carlos Monarez point. I don't believe that you can credibly criticize people if you can't recognize the positives that exist. And it depends whether you agree that there's any that exist at all. But this was the best damn game I have seen Alex Anzalone play in a Lions shirt by a long way. He was all over the field. In terms of us staying within 6, up to 3 minutes away from halftime, he was pretty much the sole reason that was happening. He was getting tackles in the backfield. He was filling his gaps with ferocity. He saved the touchdown very early on with that Stevenson tackle. He made the pass break up over the middle, which would have been a really nice completion for New England, but he broke that up. I thought he was flawless in the first half. Now, fell away a little bit into the second half, but I came away from that first half thinking he's the only guy I can really point to that's had a good game. Now, the grading also says that Mike Hughes did better than him. I just don't recall Mike doing much, to be honest, but apparently he had a good game. Did he have a pass breakup? I'm having a look now. He had a stop. Anzalone had 2 stops. Austin Bryant had 5 stops recorded as a loss for the defense. I don't recall that either, but Anzalone stood out to me. And that's significant to me because when we were playing well on offense, when we saw other things to talk about that were positive, we were still picking him out as a negative. Well, I'd be remiss for not missing him as the one thing that I can pick out from this team as being a positive, apart from Craig Reynolds on the offense, who I also thought had a really good day. But those are my 2, and that's all I can say. Craig Reynolds was good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are 22 games into the Dan Campbell system here in Detroit, and the best we can come up with is our senior linebacker had half a good game. That's all we can come up with. I'm sorry, but Anzalone is part of the problem. I know he had a good half yesterday, but are we really going to get that as a positive? 22 games in, and the best we can do is our linebacker, our leader on defense, has half a good game. That is it. And we're happy with that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and loud that. I just am not. You know me, Matt. I'm a very positive guy, and I will give credit where it's due to things here. But this defense is rubbish, absolutely rubbish.
I didn't say it wasn't.
But I'm not going to sit. I'm not going to sit here and loud Alexander
you're saying,
Matt, half a game. Half a game. Oh yeah.
What you're saying is the equivalent of, well, the Titanic has hit the iceberg and the ship sunk and there's bodies in the water and hundreds of people have died. But, the cushions in the lifeboats were quite comfy. Like, no one cares about Alex Anzalone and his performance. No one cares. And also, in the scheme of this franchise, it's completely irrelevant. Like, possibly if Kirby Joseph had a brilliant game, or I don't know, one of the other rookies, you could possibly just about squeeze a half a positive out of it. But there is nothing positive about Alex Anzalone not being as shit as usual.
No, and that's the point. I have expectations this year now. Maybe last year I'd have gone, oh yeah, he did all right, he played well, but I expect my team to compete this year, not get blown out, not be beaten on nearly every single damn play because the other team wants it more. And just tiny little things like that are not acceptable anymore. This season, none of us, playoffs were not a thing. If we can maybe threaten a wild card, that's fine. All we wanted to see was this team get better this year, for the players to individually develop and look better, and this team to look like it's heading in the right direction. But ever since we screwed the end of that Minnesota Vikings game, this team looks like its confidence is shot. The players are not getting better. They are not performing as they should be. And I am not going to sit here and start picking out tiny little individual things now at this point, because the problems are so damn big that this requires something dramatic to happen now. Dramatic changes need to be made. Little slithers of one individual having half of it, that don't count no more. I need and expect more than that, and we should all expect more than that. That is why, I'm very loath to say that there were any redeeming features from yesterday at all. I know, Matt, you made the point that the offense still had lots of yards. We outgained them, but we didn't do anything with it. We couldn't convert drives. We couldn't finish drives. And this is from an offense that is meant to be good, where most of our vets are. It's our better unit. It should be capable of putting up points, and it failed. The offensive line failed to protect its quarterback. They failed to get the run game going. They failed to execute on all the big plays here. Those are the issues that we need to focus on at this moment in time. And I'm not going to accept it anymore. These moral victories, these tiny victories, they are not acceptable anymore until I see something pertinent and real and distinguishable that this team is heading in the right direction because of it. They're not going to get lauded for this small stuff anymore, because if we carry on doing that, then nothing's going to change. It really isn't.
Ryan, you've sat patiently. Have you got any thoughts on this?
See, it's just so misleading because, like I say, all that yardage we got on offense, it was all in our own half. We barely made any plays whatsoever in that half. We got the ball at midfield twice, and we didn't even get a fucking field goal out of either it. We got 2 turnover on downs. We practically got the ball at the 45 of our own yard line, and we gained like 20 yards and then got shoved back again. We had this number one offense in the league. It's totally fraudulent, isn't it? Like you say, our explosive offense is fraudulent. There's some chunk plays, and then it's full of a load of dross. Justin Jackson was okay. Craig Reynolds had a few big chunk plays, but other than that, didn't do a right lot. Josh Reynolds, okay. Rest of the offense, absolute putrid. Paul and Barry Chuckle, the fucking Chuckle brothers, Austin Bryant and Julian Aquara, can get the fuck out of this team. They have had, how many chances now in rotation to get something going this year? Done fuck all of it, and they'll do fuck all till the end of time. I'm sick to death of wasting my time players like that.
Unless you're
Charles
from
Harris,
the UK, you won't know who the Chuckle Brothers are, so apologies for that. You'll have to look it up to me, to you, etc. Ryan, sorry.
the two simpletons, yeah. Derek Barnes, I'm done with Derek Barnes. He won't be on this team next year. Absolutely no improvement whatsoever throughout his entire in this Detroit team. I'm just going to say that now. Hutchinson looks like a headless chicken. He looks like he ain't got a fucking clue what he's doing. He looks like he doesn't have any other ideas than I'm going to run it really hard and I'm going to try push you. I'm going to try get around you. Like I say, if anyone with any technical ability gets in front of him, he just flaps and panics. And for the relentless motor of playing, like, say, 90-95% snaps, he's knackered and we're getting little production out of him. Currently, right now, we're not getting anything near like a second overall pick. So he needs to go back to the drawing board and he needs to work on himself and work on what he's bringing, because this all-out 100% flout aggression just not working. He had Zappi dead to rights, and Bailey Zappi is bang average. He's slow, he's not mobile, and he made him look like a dickhead. He juked him. He took a bad angle, overrushed him, and that it made him look silly, and that's just not acceptable. So the defense, yeah, Anzalone, he had a good half. Like I say, those first two drives were the best defensive drives maybe of the season. We got bad field position. We let them drive. We came away 2 field goals. Everything after that, bit of a car crash. And the final quarter, we were just praying for it to end. They weren't asked. They just wanted to get to end the game. I don't think even when we asked, our heads had dropped that low. And I don't know where we go from here. Something's got to change. Aubrey Pleasant, Todd Wash, if any of them get fired, I'm not going to bat a fucking eyelid, because I'm not seeing any improvements in those units. Even with banged up defensive backs, we're still seeing blown coverages, more miscommunications. Aaron Glenn, I'll be surprised if he's here next year. Will they fire him mid-season? I don't think anyone has got the bollocks in his front office to do that. So I think right now we're probably stuck with the majority of the coaching staff. Dan Campbell, I don't think he's going to get fired. I'm sick to death of him making excuses and being a whiny little bitch in presses. He's full of shit talking at the media. He hasn't learned anything whatsoever. I say he is still just as bad with the media as he was last year. And I'm sick of him trying to say, oh, woe is me, that one's on me. Yeah, last week was on you. Baltimore was on you. Chicago was on you when you fucked up all those other 4th down calls. And you're like, oh, I'd have that back if I could. And then today opens his big stupid gob again. Oh, I don't regret any of the 4th call down yesterday. This team is supposed to have one of the best punters in the league. Wouldn't fucking know it though, would we? Because he's not utilised. That 4th and 9, I blame Goff for the fumble, but I blame DC more for letting him the play happen. We could have pinned them deep. Bailey Zappi could have gone 95 yards and scored, but we might have made him work for it. But going for it was just a terrible call. And it's now a second time in a couple of weeks where we've decided not to punt and try pin them deep, and we've been shown up for it. And the players like that have just got to stop. He has got to stop rolling the dice and start utilising the weapons he's got. Kicker situation. By the time we got to half time, we couldn't even have any field goals anyway. So it didn't even matter when we got in field goal range, because field goals were useless. Like I said, they would have just literally been, well, let's see what we've got. The personnel decisions just baffle me. Like I said, we signed Badgley a day after we worked out 2 kickers, but we didn't sign either of them. Did we even work out Badgley? I don't think he even came in for a workout. I literally think you rung him and offered him a deal. But we worked out Sam, I don't know, Fender or something, and hired him Falala, whatever his name was, for the PFL.
That's
They
not
got
true,
worked out.
Ryan. No, apparently Badgley was on the stadium tour, and someone just saw him, and
He must have make a Wish Foundation or something. He must have won a raffle ticket to be our kicker, because no one saw him work out. They just literally said, "Yeah, do you want to come in?" So I don't know, like, who's going to be the kicker this week, because I get they're probably not even on the roster yet.
He was on the stadium
Not
tour.
next
He
week.
bought a bar of chocolate. It contained a
even have a
golden
kicker
ticket.
yet.
It said, "Do you fancy playing kicker for the Lions this weekend?"
Yeah, so this game, was just terrible. The defense in the first half did some bits, and then when the second half, the bodies started to hit the floor, and we really got exposed, and everything just went wrong, and I'm just knackered. We have really now been shown exposed how bad the depth is on defense, and I am running to the table, and at the trade deadline, I am a buyer. There's teams out there that have got young defensive talent, and we've got players like Hawkinson that, one, I don't think is good enough, but two, is completely wasted. We don't even use him half the time, and no wonder he's got to face like a slapped ass every week. You're probably thinking, why am I here if no one wants to throw the ball to me? And he can't even block. He's absolute fucking pony at blocking. He got called for holding again.
Yeah.
Useless, long-haired caveman twit.
Absolutely useless. So in the presser, Dan said, "Oh yeah, we tried chipping the Patriots defensive end who got all the sacks. Can't remember his name. Judon. We tried chipping Judon a lot, and it's like, if Hawkinson's chipping him, you might as well make him a conveyor belt and speed him on his way. Sorry, Hawkinson can't block, and then when we don't throw the ball, he can't catch. And everyone getting carried away with his performance last week needs to take a long, hard look at themselves in the mirror, because he's never done that in his career, and there's no reason to think he's going to do it again."
Well, that strip sack on the 4th and 9, it was TJ one-on-one with Matthew Judon. Who the hell makes that call? You put your tight end one-on-one with their best pass rusher, who's been causing your actual offensive tackles no end of problems, and what does he do? He goes and strip sacks him, and they get 7. Someone needs firing for that decision alone to have TJ one-on-one with Matthew Judon. It's disgusting. It's just one of these many questionable decisions. It's like, okay, we're going to go for it on 4th and long. Right, where the hell are the best pass rushers? I'm putting my best guys on them. I don't know, just leave the tight end with him. He'll be fine. He'll be right. 10 seconds later, you're like, well, shit, I should have made that call.
Isn't that why we drafted James Mitchell? So you can block. He was active, wasn't
he? Yep.
Brock Wright can chip. We've seen him crack, block, and chip. Every other tight end we have can block better than TJ.
Brock Wright had an 82.6 pass blocking grade on 3 pass blocking snaps, but he had the lowest PFF grade of any of our players on offense this week.
PFF's a total made-up thing. It's like expected goals in football. Everyone uses it every week. It don't mean anything, does it? TJ, Aiden Hutchinson got 80.6? What does that mean? 80.6 what?
So we watched it, and
scout badges.
Yeah, we can't be trying to find moral victories in PFF grades. We all saw what happened yesterday, and we all know just how bad it was. There is no sanctuary to be found from yesterday's performance for anybody, whether rookie, whether vet. They all failed when they should have succeeded.
JGB has just corrected us in the chat. He said Judon beat Sewell for the strip sack. He beat Hawkinson just for a normal sack, which I believe is correct. But
that might be fair then.
Yeah, but
still, you shouldn't be putting your tight end on Matthew Judon.
Yeah, it's a big mistake. And double teaming with Hawk there, with Judon on that side, fine. But you don't do it that way. It's a massive mistake. Right. We have waxed lyrical about the problems in this team, in this game, about the bad decision-making all the way through. I'm giving him a pass on the final 4 fourth downs, by the way, just because we're so far behind. You kind of got to go for it at this point. The first 2 were egregiously bad. But out of this game, and out of the game before, and the last season and a half, I mean, have we truly written off last season? I don't know. You look at the record over the last year and a half, and it's pretty dire. People are talking about firings, they're talking about heads rolling. There's some real anger in the chat, on Twitter, in the community in Detroit. Should any heads be rolling right now? Are there any people who are just saying the seat's getting warm and we need to evaluate them over the next few weeks? What do we need to do to get better? What are the solutions here? What would you do to make this better?
I just want to first up say that you calling those first 2 fourth downs egregious is wrong. The first one is not egregious. It is really not. They needed half a yard.
Well, yes, you're right. And I did say that on Micro Mike's show for LNU that it was a marginal decision that I disagree with. It wasn't egregious. The second one was egregious.
So it sounds stupid, but in principle, what do we need to do to get better? The players need to play better. I know it sounds like really easy in that, but they really do. The offense didn't convert yesterday. That's on them. They were getting into too many third and fourth down situations. That's on them not converting these plays, getting fought too much. We're told this is a team full of grit and strength, and he's going to outlast every other team because of how hard it plays with its heart. Well, yesterday you saw that wasn't true. It really just was not true at all, and that's on the players. You've got a base level of commitment to show in these games, and they didn't show it yesterday. So that is the first thing that needs to change. The second, the coaches have to get their asses in gear, because a lot of these problems are, self-inflicted. You can put so much on a talent deficiency here, but there's pretty much all of you have said in this show. So much of it is simple stuff. It's tactical, missed assignments, blown coverages. That's not a talent issue. That's a coaching issue, not training them properly, not getting them done properly. And tactically as a whole, they've got to be better. We've got opposition running backs saying they know what our schemes are. We've got opposition players from yesterday saying the decision to try and run on us so early. We know what's coming. It seems we're getting figured out far too easy. We're not disguising coverages. We're not mixing it up. It's the same old simple play calls all the damn time, and people know what's coming. So the players have to get better. The coaches, everybody has to do their job better. And I know it sounds like a cop-out answer. It's very easy, and it's not good, but it is. When the problems are so simple in a lot of the cases, stop giving stupid penalties away. Do your assignments. Do what you're meant to do to the best of your ability. And none of this missing it all the time. That is the base thing they all have to start doing right now. And that's how you get a little bit better. But they've not shown this season that they can so far. And that is the most concerning thing of them all. And the vets have to start playing. I'm sick of the vets at the minute. I'm sick of our veteran players not playing like it. The rookies are having to do all the work here at this moment in time. And I'm tired of freeloaders on this team. And it seems like we're finding more freeloaders this year. So get better. That is all I can say for now.
I mean, just in terms of like, what do we want to see? I actually don't want to see anyone fired. Like, I'm completely fine with them not firing any of the coaching staff, because I don't think they deserve to give the rebuild a rebuild. Like I don't think Campbell's earned that right. It's his coaching team. He's picked them. They've already fucked up with Anthony Lynn, and they dealt with that quite quickly. But he's picked his coaches. He's got the team that he wants around him. Like, let's not try and change it and add more to the chaos, because then when things go wrong, it'll be, oh, the coaches are just settling in. I don't want to give them any excuses. I want this coaching staff to be held accountable at the end of the season. So, our playoff chances, which were never there in the first place, are now just shrapnel on the floor. So let's give the coaching staff time to work with the players, but let's be absolutely merciless with some of these players. Julian Aquara, a specialist pass rusher that doesn't create any pressures or sacks. Hutchinson, who has come in and has performed really well in the first couple of games, has got 4 sacks on Carson Wentz. But, then Wentz has been sacked 14 times in the last 3 games. So maybe that doesn't look so good. But it kind of feels like we were already lauding Hutchinson, as defensive rookie of the year. I just think the coaches have got to be really, really tough on the players. And they've absolutely, as you said, no freeloaders on defense. The other thing I just want to talk about is just like widen it out a bit. Let's look at other rebuild teams and see how they're doing. So let's look at like the New York Jets. Like this is a team that I think Robert Saleh was hired at the same time as Campbell. You know, so much has gone wrong for the Jets. They've had all the same issues that we have. They've had, you know, high draft picks blowing up like Mekhi Becton, and they've had terrible injuries. They've had some of the worst injuries in any NFL team, and they're 3-2, and they've just beaten the Dolphins 40-17. You know, look at the Giants 4-1. Okay, in the NFC East, but they've just beaten the Packers. Even the Bears are showing signs of life, although the offense still stinks. But you know, they're at least playing a bit better. It just feels like, in terms of all the rebuilds, that we're the one that people are still laughing at, and for me, that's probably the biggest issue. I don't know what you guys think.
We're flatlined. I genuinely think at the minute we've flatlined. There is no tangible progress forward at the minute. I mean, you know, after that to that Washington game, you kind of saw the progress there, but I just think their confidence is shot. I think giving away that game to the Vikings when you could have made a statement in the division, when you could have made a statement, gone 2-1 on the season, that was a real big meter stick measurement for this team, and they came up short. And since then, I don't know whether they begin to doubt themselves over it. You know, against the Seahawks, they just kept giving up points after, you know, time after time after time. The offense still believed, but I think the defense stopped believing. And then this week, you saw both sides of the team did not believe in themselves. And I think this is going to take a long time to fix. But you're absolutely right, Steve. People just go in, oh, you know, we're a few games into the second season. They inherited a mess, etc. I mean, look at the mess that they inherited at Jacksonville. I know they've got their star quarterback of the future and whatnot, but that shit show there, they've won more than us. You know, like I say, the Giants have won more, the Jets have won more. They're in their own bad situations, in their own bad
Dallas
places,
are 4-1 with
bad
Cooper Rush.
rosters. Yeah, and we're still flatlining, and people are like, "Oh, it's fine. It's a rebuild. It takes time." No, I am sorry, but all these teams we are playing this season who are on the same. I'm not looking forward to playing the Giants now, or the Jets, or the Jags. Even the Panthers have shown a little bit of life this year. Not much, but they've shown some. And now they've just fired their head coach. So, you know, who knows? They might come good all of a sudden because there's talent to be had there. Whereas us, it feels like we've flatlined. Those teams are all just getting a little bit better all the time. We are not getting better, and to the point where we're already having to look to the draft again. And you've got players who are injured, who are not coming back, and you know, there's very little development outside of, you know, Malcolm Rodriguez. I'm seeing a lot of development. Aleem, I'm seeing still some development there. I'm not seeing enough from enough players here, and I'm not seeing the team bond as one and act like it can be proficient. You know, we just got blown out. Let's face it, we never had any chance of winning that Seahawks game. We were always too far behind. It's the problem we've had forever. We never had a chance of winning this game. We've flatlined. We've shown that we can't even compete in games at the minute, and all these other teams are not doing that. They're getting better.
Right. Ryan, why don't you have a word on what you might change to fix the team? And then I've got a question for all of you, which should be one-word answers, and then maybe we'll wrap. Ryan, what are you going to change to fix the team?
Right, well, I'm just going to start by saying that Dan Campbell thinks we've hit rock bottom. We're barely at bikini bottom. There's a lot worse that this can go. This can get a lot further down. I think that was a very, very foolish thing to say. So that's what I'll say now. So, one, what we should do is, I want to see aggressive Brad Holmes. We went up and got Jameson Williams. We traded up for Derek Barnes. I want to be buyers. I want to go out there and pick on a team that has got uncertainty off the field and try bring in some defensive recruits. Not for the now, not a 30-year rental, someone that's 25, 26, even if we have to give up capital, even if we have to give them Hawkinson and someone like that. I want to look towards freshening up the defense. 2, we need to change the front. We need to go back to using some 3-man fronts. We need to mix up the coverage. We need to do some stunts. We need to start standing some players up. We need to make the defense look different, because right now we're just going base like 4-2-5 or whatever. It's just not working. We're just too blatantly obvious. Offense has done fine so far. Ben Johnson's just had a stinker. So we'll see what happens after once we get healthy. So yeah, but coaching, I think the only staff that are probably in danger are guys like Todd Wash and any defensive assistants because they're probably the only ones that you swap in the season. I don't think anything major will happen in the season. I just don't think they're going to do it. I think there's only a ceiling of how much better we can get. We're not going to get much better, and I've accepted that. But that's fine. Like I said, we're now in damage limitation mode. We need to try chip away, get some wins, and just try to get to the end of the year without too many guys on the hospital wing. Because right now, we're getting some guys back off IR, but we're probably going to be putting some more on. So the buy is really not going to make much difference, I don't think. We're going to lose some more guys for Dallas, even if we get some back. So right now, in the short term, it's just going to be going back to basics. So, there's not a lot we can do right now, actually, I don't think.
Just after Ryan mentioned that reference to SpongeBob, I've got that little meme in my head, mainly on TikTok, actually, of Squidward saying, "Why aren't you in uniform?" And it's being said to Mani Oruwariye because he's not playing. Anyway, the question that I have for you guys, which maybe we can finish off with, and maybe after we've all had one word on this, maybe expand on it after we've all had a quick say of that, and then we'll wrap. If anyone has any questions, it'd be a good idea to get them in now, and maybe we can discuss them right at the end. There's 3 facets to this team. In the main, there's the general manager, there's the coaching staff, there's the players. Do you believe, for all 3 of those things, that we are going in the right direction, that we're staying where we are, or we've regressed? So, trying to kind of nail down exactly where this problem is. So do you think the personnel has improved year to year, comparing it to last year? Do you think we are better personnel-wise than we were? Do you think coaching-wise we've improved with where we are, or we've regressed? And the general manager, do you think that he has made good decisions, bad decisions, or about neutral? We need to nail down exactly where this problem is. If you can just give me, for each 3 of those, without too much discussion, exactly just like kind of improvement, not improvement, stay where we are, and then maybe we just discuss it as a round table, but just so everyone has a say. Steve, let's go for you.
General manager and personnel, no one in their right mind can say that we are not better. Like, of course we're better. We had one of the worst rosters. So, yeah, we are better. Coaching, I think we're about the same, which is a kind of an indictment. Players, in terms of execution, I don't think is any better, if not worse.
And
I'll do -%. So GM, I have very little issue with. Coaches, I have an issue with. Players, I have an issue with. I think the players are better but underperforming. Yeah.
Better but underperforming. That's.
It's hard to do this in a word, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we can discuss it afterwards.
So I do it percentage-wise. I'd say I've got 10% problem with the GM, 45 with the coaches, 45 with the players.
All right. Ryan?
Players, talented, but playing poorly. Head coach, regression. I'm losing faith. Coaches, neutral. General manager, neutral.
Okay, so for me, general manager improved. I know that's probably a really unpopular take, but I genuinely think I genuinely believe that the playing personnel is vastly improved in quality from year to year. I think our defense has much better personnel, and I think our offense through the first 4 weeks was more indicative of what happened yesterday. I think the overall across the 5 games is probably about where we are. They overperformed in the first 4, and the 5th was just a regression back to the mean. If you have a look at our averages now, it's probably where I expect us to be, and that is better than last year. So personnel's improved, and I like what the GM's done. Not a massive fan of taking injured players like he has, but we didn't know that our D lineman in the second round was injured. We didn't know that. He got injured then subsequently. Wide receiver prospect hasn't come back yet. Levi's obviously been a disaster. There's an element of luck in those choices. It works out, it doesn't. Sometimes it's just not the GM's fault. Sometimes it is. But overall, I think it's been a good thing. Players improved. That's a GM thing. Underperforming. That's a player thing and a coaching thing. Coaching is a massive question mark outside of the head coach. There's no improvement from the majority of players, and they're being put in poor situations. That's on both the OC and the DC. The OC has made it clearly better than last year, but still not great. DC, massive regression from last year, huge regression. And part of that's on the position coaches. All of the defensive position coaches should feel their seat getting slightly warm. Not too bad, but slightly warm. It's rough. Someone mentioned ownership in the chat, and I just want to address that. The owner is the one who has to ultimately make all these decisions. We cannot change the owner. I just want to focus on things we can actually fix. Ownership debate not entertained here. It's nothing we can do anything about. Let's open this up to a discussion. Steve.
I've just thought of a positive.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's going to be a silly one.
No, genuinely, I'm really pleased with our running back room. And I think Juice Staley's done a really good job, because I think he's like, I know Swift is perma injured, but I think he's got more out of Swift. I think Jamal Williams looks like a decent RB2. And I think Craig Reynolds, who came in, from the practice squad, is okay, he's not setting the world on fire, but he's showing real decent potential. And he was one of our better players yesterday. So I think just the running back room is a big tick for me. There you go. I can make a sensible point, Ryan. I will, however, now just dick about for the rest of the pod.
So the whole thing with the GM, I think Brad Holmes' biggest problem when he came here is he inherited a rotten cap situation, probably one of the worst in the league. We had bloated contracts on players who weren't worth a dime. And that was always going to take a long time to fix. These last 2 free agencies under him, we've had no money. And I know people go, oh, but we had more money last year. We had the 6th biggest cap, yada, yada. We'd have like 30 million. You've got to pay your draft class with that. You've got to pay your 53-man roster with that, which, all those figures aren't encountered at the time. And you've got all the other issues, your in-season money, your stuff like that. We're still paying Trey Flowers $13 million this year. That just goes to show the cap issue he's been up against. And in fairness to him, he sorted that out really, really well. The amount of, bad contracts on our team now probably number maybe 2, maybe 3, not like 15 or 20 when he got here. And that was always going to take time. And that's always going to affect your ability to construct a roster when you don't have the money available to you. Hopefully in future years it's going to come. As for his drafting, you can't comment on that yet. You've got to give a draft class 3 years before you start saying whether it's truly bust potential or anything like that. Levi, Barnes, all these guys, they got another year and a bit yet. Then you start grading his draft classes. But overall, he seems to have done pretty decent when it comes to getting players and identifying lower talent there. So none of this is on Brad Holmes. I just don't think there's any reason to be having a go at him right now. The players are the ones who are underperforming at the end of the day. And I genuinely think they are. And the coaches have not done a good enough job. Todd Wash, not good enough. Aubrey Pleasant, not good enough. Kelvin Shepherd's the only one earning stripes at the minute because he's working with a room, made up of rookies and useless vets. So, and he's getting something out of them. But these coaches are they're struggling. Apart from Hank, Hank can be in a room on his own because he's a king. He really is. But everyone else needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror and look at what they're doing and how they're developing these players, because the development has stalled And you can't just have a go at the staff all the time. There's got to be players taking accountability here as well. And, the offensive line let us down this weekend. Everybody let us down this weekend and can't just keep blaming the coaches for it. But there's nothing on Holmes here at the minute. I know he's made one bad trade for Benson and people say the Brockers stuff, but it ain't going to kill us in the long run. He really has managed this cap well, and that needed to be his number one priority coming here, and he did it.
Problem with me is these coaches are not going to stick around. Why would Hank Fraley stay here another year or two? Honestly, I really fail to see why the best coaches we've got, Juice Staley, what on earth is going to keep Juice Staley here next year? When he gets offered an assistant head coach job or a full offensive coordinator job or a head coach job, he is taking it. I don't care what anyone tells me. I am not convinced they're going to stay. So these good coaches we've got, they will not be here long term. I am not getting attached to anyone because I think they'll be on to better pastures.
Well, I think
Campbell,
the entire Carolina Panthers coaching staff's been fired today, so that's going to be 2 or 3 juicy jobs.
Yeah, there you go. That straight away, that's going to say Juice Staley, Hank Fraley, Aaron Glenn. They could all get a head coach. The vacancy up for them.
See, that's an interesting situation for me, that Panthers one. Is like I say, I think this is where Brad Holmes will start to come under the spotlight a little for me. His roster construction. We are not going to fix this defense through the draft. Anyone who thinks we are is wrong, because we can't just keep throwing rookies into a never-ending meat grinder where they get chewed up and spat out every week because there's no veterans in there to deal with them. We need bona fide NFL talent, which is experienced and can contribute from day one and lead by example in this team. That Panthers defense is ripe for plucking. They don't have a head coach. They don't have a lot of picks. They've got 4 picks going into the next draft. That is it. They will want some picks. They will want to load up and give the new guy a chance to at least do something with that team. Brad Holmes, get on the phone, ring them up at the very least and start inquiring about at least a half dozen of that defense. And if you can get the right deal at the right price for this franchise, start bringing guys in. It doesn't have to be limited to Carolina. Go to every other team as well. See who's available. See who's worth it. And start using some of these picks productively and start getting some players in here who will lead by example. I put this in our Discord chat earlier. When was the last time we brought in someone from outside the organization as a vet on that defense who benefited it? I mean, Coleman, Trufant, Flowers, Brockers, the list goes on and on and on of people who come here, earned a wage, and then got lost, and they've had a pretty penny from us for the previous of it. It's been one of the big Achilles heels of this team, is trying to find vets to come in here and mentor the young guys. We've got to do it. Brad Holmes has to go out there and be proactive, get in this trade market, get people in. And I don't care in some cases what the cost is.
The Lions have waived Maurice Alexander. Breaking news.
I just don't think they know what they're doing.
My closing point, my final statement is, what I want to change is, I want to see Dan Campbell actually be a coach, because so far I think he's been a poor coach. We don't need a cheerleader. I don't care about him in motivator. I don't care if he's a lovely guy. We're not paying him to do that. You can get a bloody Tiny Temper album on your iPod and that can motivate you in the bloody gym. Like say someone's shouting or yelling at me. I don't care about him as a person. I don't care if he's a lovely guy. Right now, he's not being a very good head coach. Like I said, he's making bad decisions. And for me, I'm just not seeing the level of coaching that I expect from him. And I would like to see him drop the nice guy act and just knuckle down.
So, there's been a really interesting solution pointed to, and maybe let's call it a year-end play, if it really does all go to pot. How's this for a potential solution to the coaching problem? Dan Campbell's fired. Deuce Staley is promoted to head coach. Ben Johnson's retained as offensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn is fired. And Aubrey Pleasant is promoted to DC. How are you feeling about that as a kind of it's a disaster situation and things seriously need to change. That's what's going forward. Again, very inexperienced, but if you're talking about the best of your coaches, they may be some of the best of them that we have right now.
Replace Aubrey Pleasant with Kelvin Shepherd. Aubrey Pleasant has done nothing to warrant that job as DC. He's supposed to be the secondary expert. I got excited with what he did with Jacobs and Parker last year, but his vets ain't getting better. And we've seen no legitimate progression really from anybody this year in that secondary. Kelvin Shepherd commands respect and he works his players hard. And I feel like that would be the thing there. But I just want to go on by saying firing Dan Campbell is not the answer. You are going to make it incredibly difficult for someone legitimate to want to come to Detroit if they know that they're going to get less than a season and a half to do their work. If we're going to be that knee-jerk, then, we knew what we were getting with Dan, and we have to ride this train out until its conclusion, but a conclusion where we've at least given him the opportunity to be successful, because last year wasn't it. Matt Patricia took over a playoff team, or a team on the verge of the playoffs. He took over a 9-7 team that was ready to take that next step forward. He had the entire groundwork laid for him. He couldn't have asked for a better situation to come in. He got 3 years. Are we going to say to Dan Campbell, you are going to get the shittiest situation that any head coach has had to deal with in some time, and you're going to get 1 year and 5 games, or 1 year and 6 games? You can't do that. You can't do that. It's just not fair to him. And I know he's making mistakes. I know he's making errors. You have to hope it's part of the learning process moving forward, but you can't make that decision now. I know people will be saying, it's like he's trying to nip a problem in the bud before it becomes a big problem, but the outside, interpretation of what happens there is that you are a trigger-happy team that will demand instant results, and if you're gone, you're fired. So no legitimate coach will give you time of day. Not to mention, you're probably going to ruin the trust of a lot of your players. You're going to have overhaul again because he is a culture guy. You're going to ruin that culture. You're going to cause yourself a ton of problems internally if you don't give him a fair whack at it. So, as a technical theory, it's fine without Pleasant in the equation, but we should not even be thinking about Dan Campbell at the moment. At least wait until this season's done and you can evaluate it as a whole, see where your rebuild is after 2 years. And if you feel the need to pull the trigger then because you've seen enough you don't like, that's fine, but not now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm inclined to close the show on that point, gents, unless anyone has anything else they want to bring up.
No.
All right, it's been a rough week, guys, but I hope you all have a good bye week and 2 weeks to go until the next one. Rest up, can't lose next week. Fingers crossed it all gets better from here. Next episode is the College Football Podcast on Roar the Lions UK. Ant and Ryan are going to be chatting you through Week 7 just gone and Week 7 coming up. Did I say Week 7 and Week 7? Week 6 and Week 7.
And Week 7.
Beg your pardon. And a half-season mock coming up, so you'll want to see that, especially if you've already given up on this season. Otherwise, the main podcast, I've changed the day, gents. We're not taking a day off next Monday. Going to take it off on this Thursday, mainly because most people aren't available on the Thursday anyway. So, no Thursday show this week as we're on the bye. This time next week will be the quarter season review show, as if we need to go through all this shit again. But that's the topic. That's the topic right now. Now, hey, it could be fun. We could talk about how many points we've scored. Or we could
I think we should look at the 2023 cap next week and see where this team's at.
Oh, Jesus, you're a fun guy.
No, I genuinely want to see what we can do at this off-season coming.
I am opening it up to the listeners. If you have a topic that you want discussed which catches my eye, tweet us at ROTL_UK, message us on Discord or anything like that. If there's a topic you want us to discuss, get it in, comment below, whatever you want to do. Maybe we'll discuss it this time next week. Otherwise, please don't forget to like and sub and rate and all that good stuff. Find us on Roar of the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The group of worldwide fans on Facebook is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. And the articles on roarofthelionsuk.com. Ash doing a great job holding down the fort there. Just before I finish, Steve has put up his hand.
I just want to say to everyone watching, and in fact, everyone in the chat, that today is World Mental Health Day. And I just want to say, if you're a Detroit Lions fan today, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah. And in fact, on that point, our good friend Luke G, he always starts off his shows with a message of saying that he is available for people if they need to speak, that he's always there, DMs are always open. Now, I know that he has things of his own to focus on at the moment. And so my DMs, Matthew Turner on my Discord, at mturnerNFL on Twitter, or a comment below this video. If you need to talk, do it. Don't suffer alone. With that, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week or earlier on the Cottage Show. Let's go Lions, one pride.
The New York Giants.
Oh yeah.
Recording stopped.
Yeah. Screw the Packers. That was funny.
We're still live on YouTube and Twitch, but I've just stopped the audio show. So if you guys still want to chat, then I'll leave it open. I just need to pop off for 2 secs. Do you want me to leave it open while you guys chat, or?
I mean, I was quite happy just to have a couple of minutes of fuck the Packers.
Yeah.
Just have two minutes of Packers hate, some Bears hate, a
Right.
little bit of both.
I'll leave you guys chatting and I'll be back in 2 secs.
It's quite amazing that UK Packers fans are just every bit as embarrassing as their over the pond counterparts. That's my takeaway from watching on Sunday.
Yeah. They are really embarrassing, aren't they? But you know what? Fair play to the Giants. You know, I don't know how they're doing it this year, but they're finding a way, and it's depressing seeing them beating the Packers. And I mean, what are our chances of beating the Packers? Do you reckon right now?
What are our chances of beating the Giants?
And it's like their quarterback's not even good. There's just so many problems with that Giants team, and they're winning.
They've literally got no wide receivers.
No, their top earning wide receiver is on holiday there, you know, and everyone else is injured. And it's Saquon Barkley. You know, if Barkley gets injured, then they won't win another game this year. I think it is that simple with them. He is a difference maker, but I was just so happy to see them lose. But it's gotten to the point now where I don't even care about. You know, I used to take great pleasure in seeing the Bears lose all the time. I used to take such great pleasure, but now it's just like, you know what? They've won more than we have with a worse team, and I can't even get excited when they lose because they're still above us. So whatever I say about them, it kind of reflects on us as well. I mean, when do we play them? I'm dreading that game now. I was so looking forward to it.
It's week 10, I think.
So what are we on? Week 5. We got to bye. So what is it? Cowboys,
Dallas, and then Green Bay.
Miami,
then Green Bay, maybe. And
Miami, 3 shaftings after the bye.
Well, it's Cooper. You know what? I hope Dak plays for the Cowboys because Cooper Rush will kill us. I feel like Dak would be more inclined to screw it up.
Yeah, the Cowboys defense. I watched a bit of their game against the Rams, and their defense was nasty.
Hey, I know we drafted Sewell, and I'm glad we all drafted Sewell, but I got laughed at on this pod when back at the time of the draft, I was like campaigning for Micah Parsons. Oh, linebackers are no good. You know, linebackers, you don't need linebackers. Well, look at him. He's single-handedly rejuvenated that Cowboys defense just because of the aura he gives off, of the way he changes games. And I wouldn't change the Sewell pick, but for everyone who laughed at me for saying that we'd take a linebacker that high, I would just like to say that I was right with that one. So,
I would.
You know.
I'd swap it.
And I got laughed at for Lloyd last year, saying Lloyd should go high. Look how well Devin Lloyd's playing at the minute for the Jags. I don't want to hear any more of this rubbish about how you can't take a linebacker high in the draft. If you find the right linebacker, you take him wherever you damn well can get him. You know, I don't think there's one this year. You won't see me crowing for a linebacker that high this year because there ain't one, unless you're counting Will Anderson as one, but technically he ain't. But yeah, positional value don't mean squat. If there is a great enough player, you go up and you get him full stop. So I would just like to say I'm justified on that one. But I have zero desire to want to take a quarterback this year in the draft. Zero. I don't.
I mean,
I don't know about you, Steve. I don't know you have been watching, but I don't know.
Who was I watching? Oh, the Ohio guy.
Stroud.
I mean, he looked pretty good against who was he playing? Was it Michigan State? I know their shit.
Yeah, they got the worst secondary in the country or one of. But see, the problem I have with C.J. Stroud, last year he was throwing to 3 first-round picks: Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. The amount of separation they get from their players is astonishing. Half of the throws he has to make are just in completely zero coverage. All he has to do is hit his man downfield, and that's it. And when you're going to come to a team like the Lions, where you ain't going to get that every single play, where you're going to have to make the more intricate passes, you're going to have to work under a lot more pressure, etc., I worry that ain't going to translate. I'd rather a QB who's been through the mill in college, who's had to deal with a lot of adversity, who's not had the sheer, swathe of weapons that CJ's had in college. It's the problem with Ohio quarterbacks. They just get 5-star guys every year. They've got some really good receivers again this year. They've just reloaded and not missed a beat. And I that's the issue I have with him. Taking him. That's why I'm not going to crown him yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite okay with us taking a linebacker. I'm just not sure I'd want to take Parsons, just not because of, I mean, I think he's a great player, but because of all the background that comes with him.
Yeah. Sorry, hang on. What was that, Steve?
Just in terms of Parsons, like the background, like the character stuff that comes with him.
I know that was a big thing there, but again, you can't deny the talent of a guy coming out. A lot of guys make mistakes.
He looks amazing.
And just people go, it's linebacker, you can't take it. And that's why I watch them myself. If you watch them yourself and see what an impact they have on the game, then it's not an issue of. There should have been no positional value issues there with him whatsoever. Zero. Just like the same there shouldn't have been with Devin Lloyd either. And look at them, they've both taken like ducks to water to this league. And it might be a case of, so if Noah plays well this year, yeah, I've seen Grandizer. I was big on Noah Sewell's train as well. I don't know whether he is going to be it. He's not been great so far this season, but I've seen enough of his game to know that if you are going to plump for him, positional value should not matter because he can be that good. And I'm sick of kind of having that thing where we'll just go DT again. We're going to go OT again. And we're just going to keep firing through those. But all I know is this draft needs to be a defensive player first, and a defensive player second, and a defensive player third. You need a legitimate game changer in there. He plays for Alabama, and he is going to be the greatest player to come out of college since Myles Garrett, defensive-wise. There's no if, but, around about him. If you're there, you damn well tech him. Not a quarterback, not now.
Yeah, I've got no issue taking a linebacker. I really haven't.
No, I don't. And, the QBs I'm just not shy on. I mean, this quarterback class flashed so much promise, and it's been bad this year. Will Levis has been hit and miss. Yeah, I agree, Megan. I was a Levis fan, but I don't get the hype around him at the minute either. He's not been good. And I know he's not a Chris Rodriguez, he's running back, but he's still been poor. Tyler Van Dyke's been terrible. It was all right at the weekend, but he's not been good. Brennan Armstrong, awful. Anthony Richardson, bad. Even KJ, who I'm a stan of, has not been great. This quarterback class has been... It's gone from potentially very good to potentially very barren very quickly. And there's a lot more developmental guys in here than they thought there'd be, and I don't think a lot of them will declare, to be fair. I think a lot more will take another year.
Can I just get your opinion from a college football point of view on a player that I think we've massively missed out on in this year's draft?
Oh, what? Who we've missed out on?
Yeah. So Tariq Woolen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, did I have Woolen in my mock? I'm pretty sure either me or Ryan did.
No, I think you did, Ant.
I watched a lot of UTSA last year because of Sincere McCormack and their quarterback Frank Harris. But yeah, Tariq Woolen, great player. He's just people again. They're like he plays in the CUSA. It's not a great league, etc. You can't get good. The thing is, you can get good guys out of these leagues. You can. You've got to stop taking the division into account. But Tariq was locked down last year. That UTSA side was damn good because it had him at the back, marshalling that secondary. And I think, he's transitioned even better than I thought he would. I thought he might take some time to adjust to this league, but he has taken to it like a duck to water.
Round 5 pick.
Yeah, I had him in my mock and I wanted him at cornerback. I don't know how highly I think I valued him quite highly at 3rd round pick as well, but yeah, it's I regret missing out on him. I regret missing out on Devin Lloyd. I was on his train for absolutely ages, and I really, really, really wanted Devin Lloyd. When we made the trade up, I didn't think it was Jameson, but I immediately thought it's either Devin or it's Hamilton. And I would have been very happy with either one of those at that point. But I'm gutted we missed out on Devin. Who else have I gutted we missed out on?
Who was the other linebacker that was quite high in the draft?
There were loads. The guy
that was very short. You
mean the Georgia one?
Yeah.
Nakobe Dean.
Nakobe Dean, yeah. How's he been playing?
He's been playing special teams just for them, hasn't he? I don't think he's played a great deal. His was size and injury worries coming out. I mean, I was never that fussed on him. I really was never that fussed. Oh, in fact, no, I wasn't. The guy I was really gutted we missed out on was Travis Jones. He's playing for Baltimore at the minute. He's the nose tackle. Came out of UConn, and we really need a run-stuffing guy next to Aleem at the minute. I know Benito Jones has been doing well in that, but Travis would have been a perfect fit in this scheme here, and he's played well. I've watched a bit of the Ravens, and he's been doing good. I'm gutted we missed out on him. I'm gutted we missed out on well. I get attached to a lot of these college guys, so I'm gutted I miss out on a lot of them. But
so just to say, Nakobe Dean has played 4 snaps on defense this year. He's played 2 games, so he hasn't had much of a shot. Just on Bama, because you mentioned Bama a little bit, we all recognise a problem with our DBs, and their DBs are insane. I know Eli Ricks is kind of spoken of as a potential CB1 in this draft. Jordan Battle was going to be like safety 2 last year, decided to return. He's still around. They've somehow got another Devonta Smith, but he's a DB this time. But I was listening to the Draft Dudes on the Draft Network, and they were saying that Brian Branch against A&M was an absolute game wrecker as a DB there too. If you want secondary help, and I mean if you want help anywhere, frankly, because it's Bama, but they appear really, really strong there. And you're getting questions from all over the chat. KDV1991 says, if the Rams do really bad and we end up with 2 really high picks, do you want to pick too high? Or are the problems we have so bad that trying to trade down for an extra first and really trying to get talent, just sacking off the vets and just getting some high-priced first rounders instead, maybe a bit lower down, might be the quickest way to revive this team?
So the way I look at it, I really, really want Will Anderson. So if one of those picks is enough to get him on his own, then I am more than open to trade in the second pick to get more picks. But I want him. Either him, maybe Jalen Carter, I'm not sure, or maybe Jalen Carter. But I want one of them first. I want my top guy. You don't get 2 first-round picks very often, so when you do, make sure you get someone great with them. If we're high enough to get Will, then that's fine. If we're just out of reach of him and I maybe had to give it up to go and get him, I might even consider that. But, I would only trade down if I get the guy I want with the first pick. If not, I'll just take 2 guys at the top, and I will probably take defense on both. I'm I'm not enamored with the quarterback class, but that is just me. But if we can get some more picks, that would be great because the more picks you have, the more chance you have of landing on some of these guys, which is great. But like we've seen this year, you need some elite talent in there eventually, and you can't pass it up if it's in your lap. So that's where I'm at with that one.
Grandize has just chipped in with a few other linebackers. Chad Moomer was a high guy from Wyoming, went to the Jags as well, if I remember rightly. Troy Anderson was
Yeah,
drafted by the Falcons. There were a
that was
few
Ryan's favorite.
from Montana State. Yeah, there
I,
was a few
I,
high-priced linebackers in there.
I think there needs to be around one DB next year. I think one of those first round picks needs to be a DB because you've got to put some serious. I mean, the one I really wanted was Jalen Catalon, but he's just been sidelined for a second successive season with injuries at Arkansas, and he's done now. He's completely ruined by injury, which is a shame. So I'm really going to take a look at DBs this year because I think we need one high. We can't be doing any more developmental picks low down because we've not got any CB ones. We've not got any safety ones. Eventually, we're going to have to draft someone who can take these mantles. We've just got depth and rotational guys in at the minute. So, secondary is right at the top of the list behind a genuine defensive playmaker, and quarterback is below those all right now. I mean, I think you're going to get. I think you will get a decent developmental quarterback for less price this year. I do. Even if it's KJ, if it's Grayson McCall, if it's someone like that, you can get them in and develop them while leaving them behind a starter and see where you go from there. But defense has to be the utter priority this year. Be it linebacker, be it I don't care which position it's at. Just go draft someone high and get them.
Questions for Ant from the chat as well about quarterbacks. What does Jamie Clark from YouTube? What do you make of Cam Ward and a name I don't recognise, J.L. Skinner?
I'm a big fan of Cameron Ward. He's the transfer from. He's at Washington State. He's the transfer from Incarnate Ward. He's just made the jump up to the FBS. This is his first year there. He's raw, but I really like Cameron Ward. I'm really at the minute he's obviously not high on draft boards. I don't know whether he's going to declare or not this year, but massive fan of him, and I like how he played. They went and beat Wisconsin, I believe, when Wisconsin were playing well and were ranked. Washington State went out there and beat them on their own ground. He looked good. He looked shaky to start with, but he got a lot better as the game went on. I think he's got an absolute ton of talent there. JL Skinner, I'm not familiar with that one. That's beyond me at this moment in time. So I can't believe I don't.
J.L. Skinner, safety for Boise State.
You would have to ask Ryan about that. Ryan knows a lot more about Boise State than I do. All I know is they don't have a quarterback at the minute because Hank McMahon just walked out on them. They're having a meh year. I'm going to start getting deep diving on some of these guys soon. I've got my top 30 or 40 guys at the minute, but I need to start diving down a bit more. Because you don't know who's declaring, you don't know who's in, so it takes a while until you can sort of figure some of these guys out and who's coming forward. So, but yeah, as far as quarterback goes, KJ Jefferson's still my favorite at Arkansas, but I don't know whether he's going to declare or not.
I think he's going to return. I don't think he's done enough this year so far.
He's injured. He's injured at the minute, so I don't know how bad the injury is. So I got to wait and see what the injury's like. It's the same with Devin Leary. He might be out for, I think they said 6 weeks, possibly. That's his season done. Yeah. And at NC State, they could have made a run at the ACC this year. I know they lost to Clemson, but they could have made a run at it. They beat Florida State this last week, and it's just a shame. They said he might be out anywhere between 1 and 6 weeks. They say he may play against Syracuse this week. So if he does, he's tough SOB. But
just had a comment in from Harley Quinn on YouTube. He says, "Guys, I'm a Patriots fan, and I was at the game yesterday. Your fans are so nice. Please don't give up." Which is really cool to hear. We're not giving up. People from the D are solid people. People from Detroit are hard-nosed, gritty, blue-collar, nice people. On the whole, from what I've met when I went over there in November, they're just pretty solid human beings. So I don't think that the people that you met are not representative of the people of Detroit. But there we go. Yeah, good to hear though from an independent.
We're just hurting at the minute. We'll be back, and we've got the bye to cool off a little bit. So when it comes to the Cowboys, we'll be raring to go again.
I think it would be quite cool for us as a kind of content thing. God knows if we're going to get the time to ever do something like this. But obviously, we have done tape reviews pre-draft where we're just looking at players and going, oh, look at this. We have access to this tape. Why don't everyone kind of come and watch along with us? If any, I mean, me included, maybe just had a time to watch some people's tape along with everyone else, just stream it and comment on it as we go.
I want to do it this year. I wanted to do it last year. But obviously you were meant to be going to America, so I had all the draft work show to do, so I never had a chance to do tape prospects. But we do it on the college pod. Well, if you want us to, we'll do it on the college pod. We've not had as many requests this year as we have last yet, but I guess not a lot of people are focusing on the draft at the minute. So, but the views are going up a little bit. So I think people are getting there. But if you want us to look at a player, I'll do it. We've got caddies. I'll get in on it. I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start doing it for the players I like soon, anyhow. So, because I'm going to need to do it well early this year. I'm going to start before Christmas, just because I kind of thought, I'll do it in February next year, and then I'll do it in February this year. I'll be fine. I'll be like 2 months to the draft, and then you've got pro days to do. You've got the combine to do. It's a ton of work for the college part of it. You're like, I've not actually got time to go and look at prospects. So, but I always do my favorite few. Always do my favorite few because I need to put my point across as to why we draft.
Still just getting over the sleep deprivation from last year's draft.
Tell me about it. It was nuts. I'm taking time off after the draft next year. I've decided I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a few weeks off after the next year's one just to calm down. It's a lot.
With my job change, I'm losing 4 days holiday until I get promoted, which should be 6 months after I join. So I cannot afford any extra time off. I can probably just about take Thursday and Friday off, and then that'll be it. Grandizer says, Matthew Turner can give a shout out to the lovely and talented Megan Gal Kroger, who's the Seattle fan that I kind of mentioned earlier, first time watching us here on the show. Thanks for joining us, and the nice words, and Harley Quinn as well. Really appreciate you guys on here, and Harley saying give us a mention tonight. I mean, I just think so. The Lions stuff is the Lions stuff, and if you're not a Lions fan, I guess it's probably just not that interesting. But the college stuff legitimately should be interesting to pretty much everyone across the league, and I guess when it comes to the NFL, maybe you can think, oh, well, the NFL gets shown over here in the UK. Maybe these guys know what they're talking about. And then if you do listen to us, hopefully you come away thinking that we do know a little bit about what's going on. But when it comes to college football, you might think, these guys aren't going to know what they're talking about. But you have a look at Ant and Ryan's record over the last couple of years. Maybe not on Pick Watch, because I've got your number on that one. But when it comes to picking solid players out of the draft, you have to go back and look at their record of picking solid players, maybe under the radar players. Malcolm Rodriguez is one of those identified pre-draft by Ant especially, but also Ryan. Go back and watch our Day 3 show from last year. Who can we take on Day 3? I think Ant's first guy was Malcolm Rodriguez. And
James Mitchell.
I
called James Mitchell.
Called both of them back to back. Like, and Mitchell, yet to be proven whether that is an improvement in this team.
No, but I got the pick right.
You got the pick right. But it's worth it. If you care about the draft, if you think the draft is worth doing, then it's worth a look. So please do that.
Yeah, we're getting there with it. It's an even harder market to grow over here than Detroit Lions is because not many people watch college football, so it's difficult. But we've got a few dedicated followers on there now, so we do. Brent's on there all the time. Look, Brent. Debt Fan Man's going to be on there every week until General Booty debuts. So, although the way Oklahoma are playing at the minute, you might see him quicker than expected. They are, we got blown out this week. We've got to thank Oklahoma for not having the worst blowout this weekend. They got beaten 50-0, well, 49-0.
Megan, I think, might have been the Seattle content creator that we
meant to, and that was on me.
No, well, never mind. No. It's hard to do, but it only twigged to me because Megan said, Steve, I'm an Aussie and went 3 full days without sleep during the draft and now have a sleeping disorder. So she relates to you pretty well.
I can't beat that, Megan.
I don't think
That fan man is on booty watch. I love it.
Oh, is he in? He always is. I tell you what, that Oklahoma backup is absolutely atrocious. So I would not be surprised to see the general get some snaps at some stage because they're bad. They're really bad. I think they had like 5 guys attempt to pass last year. I think they started trying to bring the playbook out and get loads of trick plays in. So I think they had like 5 guys attempt to pass. It was bad. It was really, really, really bad.
Megan also says that she's an Aussie USC fan and has been for 20 plus years since the Pete Carroll days and always keep an eye on the draft choices from there. I look forward to UCLA putting USC to the sword later this year. I'm not a UCLA fan, but since being in LA, I've kind of taken them to heart a bit.
Hatter's House, who's in here occasionally, he's on the college pod. He's a massive UCLA fan. He went when they played Washington the other week and they beat them. Picked that in the pick watch. I was the only guy who picked that one in the pick watch. I believed in UCLA. You say you're a UCLA fan. You bet against them in that one. You said Washington were going to win. So, a bit fraudulent there, not believing in your own team. So, I stick with Arkansas every week, even though they're bad. So, I've not put them in this week, by the way. So, I won't lose on them.
Megan's in Seattle heading to Lumina Field for the Cards game, despite being from Australia. That's a heck of a stretch.
I think that's a longer flight, but that's a longer flight than ours is, isn't it?
Yeah, you're going halfway around the world. It doesn't seem like it, but I don't know whether you can get a direct flight or whether you have to refuel in Hawaii. But it's a heck of a long flight. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of was a bit jealous of the Seahawks draft this year. The Seahawks got some of the guys that I wanted this year, so it was just like, yeah, fair play to the Seahawks. They had a good draft this year. They had a really decent draft. I mean, they got Maffei. That was Luke's favorite player in the world. Luke is the #1 Boye Maffei fan in the world, and when they got him, he was devastated. But I mean, they got Tariq Woolen. I love Tariq Woolen. Kobe Bryant was great at Cincinnati. Lucas was, I know we didn't need a tackle, but I did like Abraham Lucas. I mean, even Bo Melton was the only good player Rutgers had last year. We had him at the, Senior Bowl. We have Bo Melton. They got him. I think he's on the practice squad at the minute, but I love their draft.
Didn't they get Charles Cross as well?
Yeah. I was never sold on Cross as much as the others, but I tell you what, he's playing all right. Considering they're starting 2 brand new tackles. How many teams have 2 rookie tackles at once? It can't be many. It really can't be many. And that offense, aren't they the #1 offense in the league now? They've replaced us. The Seattle Seahawks have the #1 offense in this league, and they've got it with 2 rookie tackles and Geno Smith, who was not the starter at quarterback this year. It boggles the mind. Whether it means they're going to lay an egg now next week, who knows? But it's I think Seattle are the #1 offense in the league. So fair play to them. Yeah, great draft across the board.
What else have we got here? Megan's a huge Charles Cross fan, which we kind of just referenced, and
yeah, I think he was really aggressive. That was the he was really aggressive in college. So we used to get loads of flags thrown again. It was never the skill; it was just the aggression.
She also says 17-hour flight direct from Sydney to Seattle, which is really rough. I felt bad doing 10
we can fly to America and back and to America again in 17 hours, can't we? That's about 6 hours.
New York is like 5.5, 6 hours from London, I think. So I did coming back from LA in 9.5. It was to San Francisco. It was out in 10.5, back in 9.5. So
see, I kind of liked your idea of a road trip when we go over for the draft. I would not be against just flying over to the nearest place you can get and then driving the rest of the way to Detroit over there. I would quite like a road trip.
Chicago to Detroit's only like 2.5, 3 hours.
Nah, it's 5. It's 5. I didn't get held up in any traffic at all as well. I went 80 miles an hour the whole way. 4.5, 5 hours.
I would love to do a road trip and go and visit some places on the way. It would be fun.
I'm going to just double check that now because I did 5 hours straight without going to the bathroom, didn't stop, just went. And I just want to I don't remember getting caught in traffic apart from near Charles de Gaulle. Not Charles de Gaulle, that's in France.
Jesus.
Whoops. That would be bad. What's the bloody Chicago airport called?
O'Hare.
O'Hare, that's the one. Oh, it's someone. It's a name. O'Hare. Let's
The
see.
Irish name.
Yeah,
A lot of Irish in Chicago, so.
Yeah, obviously. Drive at the moment, which would be 6 hours back, so 20 to 4 in the afternoon. So a good time. I think it was roughly when I landed. 5.5 hours due to traffic, 300 miles on I-94.
Okay. It didn't seem that long when we did it.
It's a really lovely drive. I really enjoyed it. But so the drive from
So it's basically here to Dorset. Well, from where I am to Dorset, really.
yeah, it's really not too bad. And with the straight roads and plenty of rest stops and restaurants along the way, it's really not that hard. But if you flew to the nearest point, easiest point, which would be New York, and you drove to Detroit, you'd probably drive to Buffalo, to Hamilton in Canada. Then you drive potentially to. I mean, you could stop off in Toronto for a day if you wanted. Maybe do Niagara Falls between Buffalo and Hamilton, and then hit Detroit after going through Windsor. And that's one of the trips I have planned. I think it sounds like a great trip. Niagara in there, Toronto, some of the best cities in the world here. You know,
Go to Buffalo, put someone through a table.
par for the course.
I'd love to do that. Just go put someone through a table there just for a laugh. I'll get put through a table. I don't care, whichever way. I feel like I'd be able to antagonize them by like getting into a discussion about language, like telling them how to say aluminium properly. I feel like I could get into an argument and get put through a table for that.
Aluminum. Megan is meeting Seattle's coach this week.
Wow.
Pete Carroll, I guess. So that's cool. Rashad Penny's done for the year with his injury.
Not before getting in his season game against us.
2 years in a row. Harley says, "You all sound so classy. I want your accents. I love it."
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Big Airy says, "I live west of Grand Rapids. It takes me 2.5, 3 hours to get to Ford Field." Grand Rapids is West Michigan, isn't it? So it's a fair whack. And KDV says, "Why don't you guys live in the USA?" Honestly, having gone to Detroit and California,
Let's not start anything let's not start no cultural wars here or anything.
I am perfectly happy having it as my luxury holiday vacation destination, but I'm happier living here. I think that's where I'm at from what I've seen.
I don't know. I've not been to America yet, so I still need to.
The draft will be the first trip. Let's do it.
I actually want to get to a game next season, so I'm hoping to do it twice, but because I take the route up through Keflavik, so I'm hoping to sort of do a trip to Iceland and then maybe hop over and then hop back again. You know, do a game, tag it on, because I go to Iceland in November anyhow, so I can just tag on a trip on the end of that and then do the draft later on. But I do want to go.
I saw on my Facebook memories 4 years ago today. I was in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan in somewhere called Munising. We did like a big tour up there after we'd been to the Lions-Packers game in 2018, and it's just like Scotland. It's like totally beautiful, lots of forests, just stunning, like in autumn as well. So yeah, it was good.
Are the people friendlier?
We're very friendly in Scotland, and we were in Grand Rapids as well. And Grand Rapids is an awesome town. Loads of amazing beer. We were in a beer place called Founders, which was awesome. So many cool beers.
I just want to go and get lost up in the Great Lakes. I love stuff like that. It just like get me out around the lakes and around there. I'd be like a fish in water. I'd be at home. I'd love it.
Yeah, you'd like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's very lakey and foresty.
I love hiking, all that sort of stuff. Be great. I have to have some serious time there and do it.
The only problem is if you go up to the Upper Peninsula and keep going, you do end up in Green Bay.
Yeah, well, you'll start smelling cheese and then you turn around and go home. That's the way to do it.
Not before you take a giant shit on the field. Sorry.
How mean have the NFL been to us this year, sending us the Vikings and the Packers? I mean, it's like just good job they didn't send the Bears as well.
That would be masochism.
We've had to deal with all these Vikings and Packers fans. It's just like, that's not fair on us. That's not nice at all.
Right. Shall we call it, fellas?
Indeed.
Right.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Yeah.
Therapy.
It has. I hope you guys have enjoyed it too, and thanks especially to the guys not Lions fans who've joined us in the chat. That's been really, really fun to interact with you guys too, especially people who've played us, fans of teams who've played us in recent weeks. That's been cool. Like I said before, suggestions for the topic for next week's show. I want to avoid it being the quarter season review. No one needs to relive that shit. So get it done. Micro Mike says, Ant-Man, when you come to Detroit for a game, let me know. See if we can get sweet tickets. You lucky bastard. There we go.
I would love that. That would be
cool.
Great. So.
Ford Field is a heck of a stadium. Just to say this, American stadiums are not similar at all to British stadiums. Like, they build into the ground, don't they? So that when you walk in on ground level, you're in the concourse immediately, and then you're in the grounds, which is beneath you. It's a surreal experience because you go into Wembley, you go into Tottenham, you go into Anfield, you climb up to go down and in. It's rubbish. The only stadium I've experienced in Britain that's like that is the Millennium Stadium, the Principality in Cardiff. When I went there for Ramstein, I walked straight into the stadium and then down the steps, and I was like, oh, it's just like Ford Field. I've never experienced that in any other British stadium. It's just not like it.
See, Matt, you're just bullying here because some of us go to stadiums where there's only like 20 sets of stairs because the teams we play are that small. Some don't even have 20.
I used to go to Yeovil on the regular, and they've got a smaller ground than you do, mate.
When I go to Accrington, they have literally 7 levels of stairs in their stadium, and that is it. And a concrete concourse, which is like 3 rows back, and that is it. Exeter's got 2. It's like, good God. Some of the stadiums we go to here would be, I don't know. If any Americans came here and went to a lower league football game, they'd be like, what the hell's this? It's like teams over there have training grounds that are more fancy than our proper stadiums. Like the training facilities in America are outrageous. Even for the college teams. Yeah, we can only dream of stuff like that here.
I think I've told you this before, but it's in some of the Scottish lower league games I've been to, the crowd changes end at half time.
What?
Oh yeah, we used to do
that. Really?
We used to do that at Saltergate. We used to change ends at half time.
That's weird.
It's amazing.
It's
amazing.
No.
So we could spend 90 minutes behind the goal rather than because there's no more deflating in a game when your team's shooting at you for the first 45 minutes. You want it to be the second 45. So at Saltgate, you could just switch round and off you go. All the fans very nicely change places.
I just need to subscribe to Megan if I can find her because she's just subbed to us, but I can't find her. Where's she gone? I'm getting a lot of Seattle.
Grandizer put it in our our Facebook messages. I'm pretty sure Grandizer put it in there.
I'll have to find it there.
I apologise, right. Megan. That was on me. Matt was on holiday at the time when we were doing the Seahawks review. I just did not have time to sort of because I'm sorting the main show, the college podcast, got a job. I just did not have time to arrange any guests whatsoever, and it was a pain. So that's on me, and I apologise.
No apology necessary. You were dealing with 2 podcasts and all that shit on your plate, so you did a terrific job while I was away, and organising guests, especially in a different country, is hard enough. With it being in a third country to America and us, even harder. So I wouldn't worry about it. I'm sure we'll play Seattle again. Or Megan can be one of our Seattle guys for the draft upcoming. We can have them and the UK Seahawks people as well. That'll make it fun. I want to expand our draft show. I know that we already do 21 hours in a draft weekend, but fuck it, let's get more people on. Let's do it. Let's just make it some ridiculous thing.
At the end of the season, we'll plan it early. We'll plan it early this year.
I'm already beginning thinking about it.
Because I want to get more picks right this year. I want
It's
to get them
gonna
all.
happen.
Our Super Bowl.
I want to get them all.
Megan says, I was travelling up to Seattle that day, Anthony, so no hard feelings. Right, we got to go. It's time. We'll see you in a week. Let's go, Lions One Pride.